And we're live. Okay, folks, welcome back to the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing. It's Groundhog Day. We're doing this all over again, and we're back for confirmation hearings. We're going to very quickly introduce ourselves because I do know there are folks here who were not with us in our prior work sessions. So real quick, I'm Senator Mandy Daughtry. I represent Senate District 24, which are the communities of Brunswick, Harpswell, North Yarmouth, Freeport, and Pownell. Kicking it over to Representative Sylvester.
I'm Representative Mike Sylvester. I represent District 39, which is a part of Portland.
Senator Hickman.
I am multitasking, and so are we introducing ourselves? Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Craig Hickman. I represent Senate District 14, 11 towns in Southern Kennebec County, including my hometown of Winthrop. Happy to be here today.
Thank you. Senator Guerin.
Good morning. I'm Senator Stacey Guerin, representing Southern Penobscot County, Senate District 10.
Got to get you some coffee. If anyone knows the ability to coffee, Senator Guerin needs a drone tour right now. Senator Bradstreet. Are you able to unmute? Together.
Hi, I didn't hear my name called, but I guess it probably was. Representative Dick Bradstreet from House District 80. I will probably be going off video to try to enhance my internet reception. Thank you.
Representative Cuddy.
Good morning. I'm Scott Cuddy, represent House District 98, who's Winterport, Frankfort, Searsport, and Swanville.
Representative Drinkwater.
Yes, I'm Representative Gary Drinkwater, District 121, representing the fine towns of Milford, Elton, Argyle, Corinth, and Hudson.
Thank you. Representative Gear.
Hi, I'm Tracy Gear. I represent House District 9, which is Kennebunkport and Coastal Biddeford and Kennebunk.
Thank you so much. And then alphabet is failing me. Representative Morris.
Yes, good morning. I'm Representative Josh Morris. I represent House District 75, Turner, Leeds, and Little.
Thank you. And Representative Pepworth.
Good morning. I'm Sarah Pepworth. I represent House District 133, which includes Blue Hill, Brooksville, Brooklyn, Castine, Sedgwick, and Surrey.
Representative Rader.
Hi, I'm Representative Amy Rader. I represent District 125, which is a portion of Bangor.
And Representative Warren.
Sorry. Hi. Hello. Oh, goodness. Hello. Good morning. My name is Representative Sophie Warren. I'm fortunate to represent part of my hometown here in Scarborough, Maine.
And have I forgotten any committee members? Okay, we're also ably assisted today by our wonderful hardworking committee clerk, Justin Purvis, who is going to be the one helping coordinate everything. So preemptive round of applause for everything that Justin's doing. And for nominees, we'll be bringing you in one at a time from the attendee section. We had a little bit of delays on the packet, so it might take us a little bit of a transition second in between. So just beg your patience, and we're excited to have you all with us. With that, Mr. Bonham is with us, and for those who have been through the confirmation process before, you know there is a lot of very important verbiage that we have to go through. So I just want to make sure that my good co-chair was able to get the packet to work. Thumbs up. Okay, and ready to make the motions?
I am so ready to make this motion.
Wonderful. Okay, well, with that, this is a public hearing of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing, or actually, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to kick it off. This is a public hearing of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing for the purpose of considering the nomination by the governor, Mr. Noel Bonham of Portland, for appointment as a commissioner of the Maine State Housing Authority. Under the law and joint rules of the legislature, this committee is required to hold this public hearing and to recommend confirmation or denial of the nominee by majority vote of the committee members present and voting. As chairs of the committee, we will then send written notice of the committee's recommendations to the President of the Senate. The committee will hear testimony from and have an opportunity to question the governor or her representative, the nominee, or any other persons present who wish to speak for or against the nomination. This meeting is currently being live streamed on the committee's YouTube channel. This means that anyone who is a participant in the meeting via Zoom can be seen and also heard if their microphone is unmuted. People testifying cannot be seen or heard until they are called upon to speak by the chairs. This meeting will be recorded and available to view on the committee's YouTube channel soon after the meeting has concluded. pursuant to Title III, Section 157 of the Maine statutes, which requires that there be an affirmative motion to recommend confirmation of the nominee. The chair recognizes Representative Sylvester for the purpose of making such a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing recommend confirmation of Mr. Noel Bonham of Portland for appointment as a Commissioner of the Maine State Housing Authority.
Thank you so much. So a copy of the statutory requirements for this position is available at the rostrum in the Labor and Housing Committee, as well as available online. Now the chair recognizes the representative of the governor for this one will be Mr. Payne, correct, for this nominee? So I'm pleased to God, definitely need more coffee. Pleased to recognize Mr. Payne for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination. Floor is all yours.
Thank you. Good morning, Senator Daughtry and Representative Sylvester and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing. My name is Greg Payne, and I am the Senior Advisor on Housing Policy in the Governor's Office of Policy Innovation and the Future. I am not going to walk through a full overview of Maine State Housing Authority because I believe that all of you have become very familiar with that agency and the many programs that they administer over the course of your deliberations in the committee. And as you know from your recent discussion of LD 1961, and I do want to thank Senator Hickman in particular for his work on that proposal because it does improve the statute quite a bit. The Board of Maine State Housing Authority is comprised of 10 individuals, 8 of whom are appointed by the governor. There are certain categorical requirements in statute regarding those 8 gubernatorial appointments to the MSHA board, including one as currently written in the state statute as a representative of elderly people. It is that seat that is being considered today, and I am honored to be here this morning on behalf of Governor Mills to speak in support of Noel Bonham's nomination to the Maine State Housing Authority Board of Commissioners. We believe that Noel brings exceptional subject matter expertise that will help Maine State Housing Authority with some of its most critical challenges ahead. Mr. Bonham is currently serving as the state director of AARP Maine. AARP is the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization dedicated to empowering Americans age 50 and older to choose how they live as they age. The organization has a membership of almost 38 million nationwide and over 200,000 here in Maine. AARP Maine is strongly engaged in housing issues with their members and external partners around the state and advocates for the housing interests of Maine people, in particular those who are age 50 and over. Noel has also worked extensively with diverse partners from across the world, particularly in the public and not-for-profit sectors. Before joining AARP, he was the president of the Global Institute, a public benefit organization specializing in social equity, leadership development, and organizational sustainability. From 2006 to 2010, Noel served as director of the Bureau of Multicultural Affairs for the state of Maine. In that role, he oversaw systemic changes through diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts by working closely with interdepartmental stakeholders and with key community partners from across the state. Mr. Bonham holds a master's in public personnel management from Osmania University in India and a certification in diversity, equity, and inclusion in human resources from Cornell University. He also currently serves as a member of the Maine Climate Council. Noel Bonham's extensive background and leadership in issues of aging and social equity will make him a valuable member of the Board of Commissioners of Maine State Housing Authority. And on behalf of Governor Mills, I urge you to support his nomination. I would be happy to answer any questions if you have them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Payne. The chair would ask if any member of the committee has questions for the representative of the governor at this time. Seeing none, thank you so much for your time this morning, Mr. Payne. And the chair now recognizes Mr. Noel Bonham for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination. Welcome, and it is still technically good morning.
Good morning, honorable chairs, Daughtry and Sylvester, honorable members of the Labor and Housing Committee. It's an honor to be here. I'm Noel Bonham, a resident of Portland, Maine. I am, as Greg just mentioned, the state director for AARP Maine, which is a nonpartisan nonprofit organization that is advocating for and that represents the interest of older adults in this great pine tree state. With around 220,000 members just in this state, we track many issues that are relevant to Maine residents, especially to older and low-income residents. Needless to say, affordable housing and thriving in place are among our priorities through our livable and age-friendly work. I'm both honored and humbled by my nomination to the Maine State Housing Authority's Board of Commissioners. I believe I bring with me specialized experience in building equitable and accessible systems through collaborative leadership and through cross-cultural organizational development. All through my professional career, I have been working for the development of inclusive systems, particularly for groups that lack the privilege of access due to barriers that are social, structural, and/or systemic. And all through my career, I've been committed to engaging primary stakeholders in the work that I do in a very open and transparent manner. That includes my previous professional roles with the former Bureau of Multicultural Affairs, with the Global Institute, with the Public Health Division for the City of Portland. In those roles and in my current role, I've been working closely with various state departments such as public safety, health and human services, education, corrections, labor, and of course, housing. If confirmed, serving on the Maine State Housing Authority's Board of Commissioners is a responsibility that I will take very seriously, as I see it as an important opportunity to represent the interest of Mainers, particularly older adults, low-income, new Mainer residents, and also young families. Finally, I do appreciate the governor's nomination as it reflects her trust and confidence in my ability to serve on this important board. Thank you, Greg, for on that strong vote of confidence, and I thank the committee for considering my nomination.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bonham. Do I have any questions? Representative Pepworth.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Bonham, for being here today. I'm particularly impressed with your experience and wondered if you would take a moment or two to talk to us about the connection that you might see between mental health and housing, particularly as it applies to elderly people.
Absolutely. Thank you, Representative Pepworth. There's a direct connection, and often we're unable to see it, primarily because I think we have siloed a lot of the work that we do for people as individuals, as communities, and so we're not able to often see the connection very directly. Housing is such an important need. It's a human right. We as a community need to make sure that individuals have housing as it should be a given. And unfortunately, that's not true all the time. And when there's insecure housing, that also affects one's mental health, one's well-being. And again, when you talk about just because of how we've been conditioned to think of mental health as an isolated condition, often mental health is connected to housing, just like it is connected to one's social economic security, and housing is such a big part of that. And so I feel there's a direct relationship there between mental health and housing, and that one's mental health and well-being is often can often be supported by having secure, sound, affordable, accessible housing.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Representative Sylvester.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Bonham, thank you for stepping forward today to to put yourself into public service yet again. Really, my question is sort of a charge for the commission, right, or for the committee. If you, with your expertise, if you were going to give us an area of elder housing that you think policy-wise that we could focus on, what are maybe the one or two challenges for older Mainers in securing housing that we might be able to work on in policy?
Right off the bat, I can say that many older adults in the state who have worked very hard to build those local communities, local towns, whether being part of the education system as educators or whether being part of the development sector as construction workers, as plumbers, irrespective of what kind of profession they had during their working years. They are unable to live in those communities anymore because they're not able to afford the housing, whether they're living in rental homes or whether they're living in homes that they own, that they actually worked very hard to build. And unfortunately, the way our system is evolving and the way housing is becoming truly inaccessible, this is one area where I think it's important for a lot of work to be done to make housing more accessible. And then another area is also looking at how do we create opportunities for older adults to be able to live in place, and that has to do with, is our housing stock good enough to allow people to live in their own homes, and that includes access to wellness opportunities, to telehealth, to all of these things. And if they're not in places where they are able to access the services, how do we then help them to access home care home and community-based care? So these are they might fall into another realm like health and human services, but at the same time we're talking about housing as a primary aspect here, and being able to offer services and being able to allow people to adapt their homes to be able to receive such services in their own homes, I think is another aspect, which I think is something we should consider and look at very closely. Those are just two that I can speak of right away.
Thank you, Mr. Bonham. And I knew your name was Noel, and I said Noel anyway. And so you can call me my K from now on.
Thank you very much. I don't mind it. I grew up in India, and Noel is a very unusual first name, so I got called everything but Noel. So Noel is pretty good and pretty close, so I don't mind it. Thank you.
Mr. Bonham, I have to beg your forgiveness. In a funny story, we have two family members. One is Noel and one is Noel. So I am pretty much jinxed that the wrong one's going to come out when speaking with them as well. So I apologize if I keep flipping and massacring your name pronunciation. I figured I'd give you the backstory on that as well.
No worries. Thank you.
Representative Geer, followed by Senator Hickman.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you very much, Mr. Bonham, for putting yourself forward for this position. I participate on our aging caucus in the legislature, and a few weeks ago, I heard this very disturbing statistic, which is that we have 11,000 Maine women over the age of 65 living on less than $12,000 a year. And so the urgency of this situation is very, very concerning to me. And so I'm wondering, in your role on the Maine Housing Board, should you be confirmed, what would you do to address the urgent need for people who are struggling to meet basic needs, including housing, which is a really, as you've already described, a huge component of the problem?
Thank you, Representative Geer. I think it's similar to the second point that I mentioned in response to the Representative Sylvester's question. I think in order, and it's a known fact that we have a dearth of housing stock in Maine, good housing stock in Maine, and affordable housing stock in Maine. And I think one of the ways immediately, and of course there are many nuances to this conversation, I think one of the ways to look at it is, making sure that there are ADUs in the state that can allow people to either share accommodations that they might. And there are many older residents in the state who are living by themselves, and in some towns we're not able to allow them to put on an ADU to allow another person to live close by, that can actually not only help them economically, financially, but also help them to very much be part of their social support structure. And so that is one way to do it. But at the same time, having read that report that you're referring to, it's really, a very sad state of affairs, because a lot of people are not aware of how much disparity there is between men and women. And I think there is a huge need for us to kind of educate decision makers, lawmakers, people who are in the private sector and in the public sector, I think, in terms of making sure and that's a significant number in a state with a very small population like ours. That's a huge number to have that many people suffering. And I think there's a significant need for education. And I think that's another area where we can work, because when there isn't enough awareness, we cannot get enough support to do the right thing. So it's a combination of those two things.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Senator Hickman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome, Mr. Bonham. Thank you so much for stepping up to accept this nomination. These are very interesting, historic, urgent times, challenging in every way. Your resume is most impressive. The diversity of experience that you bring to the table, most impressive. But I'm gonna ask you, if you don't mind, talking a little bit about, we share a lot in common with some of the work we've done in the past. But one of the things that is most impressive to me is if you could talk a little bit about your role as an artist, a visual artist, a performing artist, and how that informs any or all of your work.
Wow. Thank you, Senator Hickman. I think I've said this many times in private conversations with friends and even with the colleagues that I've worked with over the years. I think the fact that for a very long time I was exclusively a professional artist, both performing and visual artist, really has influenced all of the work that I've done through my career in every aspect of it. There was a time when I worked in suicide prevention. There was a time I worked in public health. There was a time I worked in social development, social services, international dialogue facilitation, and diplomacy, and all of those areas. I've always found that the skills and the tools that I gained as an artist, both as a visual artist and a performing artist, have always helped me, because they've given me the grounding to really be thoughtful about how do all the pieces fit when you're trying to do something together. What are all the roles that each person who's playing on stage, how do they fit together? When does someone enter? When does someone leave? And how does that really, affect the optics of what that looks like? And I think those have been really very crucial and helpful to me to kind of really look at collaborative leadership and to see how do we really engage the people. Because often people, when you're performing, when you're doing theater, when you're even making art, because you make art and you put it on the wall and it's at an exhibition, but you're trying to communicate with the person who's engaging. And often these are people in the work that I've done are people who are unusual stakeholders. They don't show up, but they are the most important stakeholders. And that really has been a guiding principle for me. How do you relate to the people who are not showing up or who you can't see on a stage because the light is on you, but not on the people who are actually you're trying to connect with? How do you really bring their voices? How do you really influence their experience in the work that you do on stage that's within the limelight? And I think that's been how I've been able to guide my work. Thank you for that question.
Thank you for that answer. A follow-up, Madam Chair. I don't want to go on too long. I know we have a long day, but it's not often that an artist comes before a committee that I serve on. Do you have, and if you don't, that's fine, but I'm curious, do you have a particular piece of work that might be in the category of favorite? And if so, can you talk about that a little bit and what impact you think it has had in your life?
I think the volume of work that I really have appreciated being engaged. Are you asking on the artistic side, or are you asking, okay. I think the piece of work that I've done was for the German government. They had invited me, almost 23 years ago to be a visiting artist to understand youth theater and folk theater in Germany and how it compared to youth theater and advocacy theater in India, because India has a very traditional style of folk theater, which really doesn't depend on big props. It's all about the body, the voice, and space. How do you really leverage these three elements in your performance? And so being in Germany for 8 months and really understanding that and learning about that was a phenomenal experience for me, because it really highlighted how much can be done. And Germany, India is still today is using theater techniques that are 2,000 years old. Mm-hmm. Very good. I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm saying that in a very positive way. And Germany was way ahead. So kind of really bringing those two pieces together and understanding that as an artist, I think, and to be able to then, I did a series of performances here in Maine when I moved to the States, because it was right after my stint in Germany. And that volume of work, using very traditional ancient techniques, I'm very proud of and still think of very fondly today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Senator Hickman. And I do have to ask, Mr. Bonham, whereabouts in Germany were you doing this?
I was mostly down connected to the Theater Pädagogik in Eschlingen. And then, I was housed there, but I spent a lot of time in Stuttgart, Berlin, Frankfurt, and I was following the youth theater cycle across the country at that point.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for indulging me on this. This is one of the best parts of the confirmation process for everyone who comes before us. You get to find out about folks' really wonderful interdisciplinary backgrounds, whether it's confirmations to things like the Maine State Housing Board or Maine Maritime or Maine Workers Board. Our process and our nominees are made richer through this past. And as someone who's also a fellow working artist, it's always thrilling to hear about the impact of the arts. And I would say I wholeheartedly agree. As we always say in the Education Committee, it's not STEM education, it's STEAM. And even in a committee like Labor and Housing, I think we're made richer by the arts. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
Do I have any further questions from the committee at this time? Seeing none, thank you for sharing your testimony, and apologies, I clicked the wrong page on our script and I'm having to scroll down. So with that, the chair will now take comments from persons attending this hearing who wish to speak for or against this nomination. Anyone who has a written statement but who does not wish to speak should have submitted the statement with the committee clerk prior to today's hearing. All such statements shall contain the name and residence of the person who prepared the statement, and a copy of each written statement presented to the committee at this hearing will be made available to the nominee prior to the committee's vote, and the nominee will have an opportunity to respond to the written comment. For those who wish to speak in person, registered with the committee clerk prior to the start of this hearing, and will be called upon by the chairs. At this point, I will ask Justin, have we had anyone registered to speak for or against on this nomination?
No.
No. With that, we will skip ahead in the script. All public comments having been taken, I will add for the committee and for the record that we have had comments submitted digitally and written that are available for the nominee online, as well as in the committee room as well, and those have been available for review. All public comments having been taken, the committee will now proceed as follows. We'll review any additional written comments on the nomination that have been received. We will vote on the nomination and notify the President of the Senate pursuant to Title III MRSA Section 157 and the joint rules. The vote must be taken within 35 days from the date of the governor's written notice. The hearing by the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing for Mr. Noel Bonham of Portland for appointment as a commissioner of the Maine State Housing Authority is closed. In accordance with the law, the committee may not take the vote on this nomination sooner than 15 minutes after the close of the public hearing unless all committee members who are present agree. At this time, therefore, the chair will inquire whether any member present objects to proceeding to taking the vote immediately. Luckily, seeing no objection, seeing no objection, the pending question before the committee is that the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing recommend to the Senate of the 130th Maine Legislature that the nomination of Mr. Noel Bonham of Portland for appointment as a commissioner of the Maine State Housing Authority be confirmed. In accordance with the 3 MRSA Chapter 6, Section 157, you'll all be very tired of hearing that by the end of the day. With the joint rules of the 130th legislature, the vote will be taken by the yeas and nays. A vote of yes will be in favor of recommending confirmation, and a vote of no will be against the motion to recommend confirmation. Is the committee ready for the question? The clerk will call the roll.
Senator Daughtry?
Yay.
Senator Daughtry, yay. Senator Gearin?
Yes.
Senator Gearin, yes. Senator Hickman?
Yay.
Senator Hickman, yay. Representative Sylvester?
Yay.
Representative Sylvester, yay. Representative Bradstreet? Yes. Representative Bradstreet, yes. Representative Cuddy?
Yes.
Representative Cuddy, yes. Representative Drinkwater?
Yay.
Representative Drinkwater, yay. Representative Gear?
Yes.
Representative Gear, yes. Representative Morris?
Yes.
Representative Morris, yes. Representative Pebworth?
Yes.
Representative Pebworth, yes. Representative Prescott is absent. Representative Rader?
Yes.
Representative Rader's yes. Representative Warren? Representative Warren is absent. Okay, so we have 11 in favor, 2 absent.
11 members of the committee having voted in the affirmative and 0 in the negative. It is the vote of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing that the nomination of Mr. Noel Bonham of Portland for appointment as a commissioner of the Maine State Housing Authority be confirmed. Congratulations.
Thank you.
With that, we will be moving right along with folks' time constraints. Mr. Shedlock will be going next. I'm going to promote him over as a panelist. And thank you, Mr. Bonham, for being here. I'm going to switch you over to your attendee role.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Was it Mr. Shedlock? I thought Mr. Shedlock was going third and Mr. Provost was going second.
I was just informed by Justin that it sounds like is this correct?
Okay,
Yes,
perfect. Awesome. I see the link
see
in there now. All right, thank you.
They are friends and have agreed to switch because Jason has a little more of a pressing matter to get to, and Grant has a more flexibility. So I appreciate your flexibility as well.
Absolutely. And Mr. Shedlock, I'm going to take a very large sip of coffee and then I'm going to try to read the script like I'm at an auction house. So give me 1 second.
Of course, thank you.
Okay. Pulling up the next script. With that, this is a public hearing of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing for the purpose of considering the nomination by the governor of Mr. Jason Shedlock of South Portland for reappointment to the State Workforce Board. Under the law and joint rules of the legislature, this committee is required to hold this public hearing and to recommend confirmation or denial of the nominee by the majority vote of the committee members present and voting. As chairs of the committee, we will then send written notice to the President of the Senate. The committee will hear testimony from and have an opportunity to question the governor or her representative, the nominee, and any other persons present who wish to speak for or against the nomination. As I mentioned previously, this meeting is currently being live streamed and all testimony shall be recorded and available on the committee's channel, YouTube channel soon after the meeting has concluded. Pursuant to Title III, Section 157 of the Maine statutes, which requires there be an affirmative motion to recommend the confirmation of the nominee, the chair recognizes Representative Sylvester for the purpose of making such a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing recommend confirmation of Mr. Jason Shedlock of South Portland for reappointment to the State Workforce Board.
The chair now recognizes Missy O'Neill Lowe for the statement, purpose of making a statement on the following nomination, correct?
Thank you, Senator Daughtry, Representative Sylvester, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing. My name is Melissa O'Neill Lowe, and I'm the Director of Boards and Commissions for Governor Janet Mills. I'm here today on behalf of the governor to speak in support of the nomination for reappointment of Jason Shedlock of Portland to the State Workforce Board. The State Workforce Board can be found in Maine Revised Statutes under Title 26, Chapter 25, Section 2006. The board was established to ensure that the state's workforce development system helps Maine people and businesses compete successfully in our global economy. Jason I've got these new braces which are hindering my speech these days. Jason Shedlock of Portland is being nominated for reappointment to the seat he currently fills on the Maine State Workforce Board that is dedicated to someone with experience in the delivery of workforce investment activities. Mr. Shedlock is no stranger to this body or committee and currently serves as the president of the Maine State Building and Construction Trades Council. He is an executive board member and trustee of the Maine AFL-CIO and Southern Maine Labor Council. He serves his community by coaching youth basketball and softball and is the immediate past president of the First Parish Unitarian Universalist Church in Portland. In addition to these roles, Jason serves as a member on the Apprenticeship Council. In his role as president of the building trades, Jason works with and for working families and is a guiding star to those just entering the workforce. It is no secret that the trades have a dwindling workforce and that those currently employed in the trades are aging out. Jason's experience in apprenticeship programming and work with our state's educational leaders will continue to bring a broad range of thoughtful and insightful experience needed to further develop workforce programming for Mainers, our children, and their communities. Jason holds a BA in politics from Catholic University of America and an MA in government from Johns Hopkins University. On behalf of the governor, I would ask that you support the nomination for reappointment of Jason Shedlock of Portland to the Maine State Workforce Board. I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody has at this time.
Does the committee have any questions at this time? Seeing none, the chair now recognizes Mr. Jason Shedlock for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination. Floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Missy, for that. Good morning, Senator Daughtry, Representative Sylvester, and members of the Committee on Labor and Housing. I am Jason J. Shedlock, and I'm a regional organizer for the Laborers International Union, president of the Maine State Building and Construction Trades Council, and the president of the Board of Trustees and executive board member of the Maine AFL-CIO, executive board member of the Southern Maine Labor Council, as well as serve on the Maine Apprenticeship Council. And I do appreciate Governor Mills' appointment to that body as well. I appear before you this morning, as I do every day, proud and humbled to represent working families in any way I can. And I couldn't be more appreciative of Governor Mills for her trust in me as I lift up those voices of the women and men I represent through my work on the State Workforce Board. As you know, I've appeared before this body countless times, and I genuinely enjoy engaging with you to work through the policies and procedures as we partner to navigate our economy, while at the same time always mitigating the burdens and maximizing the benefits to Maine's working families. But today I'd like to take a slightly different tack, because while you know that I have demonstrated a strong propensity to always ensure workers in Maine have a fair opportunity to be productive members of our economy, often in the face of significant headwinds, what you might not know is the why. My great-grandfather was a coal miner in northeastern Pennsylvania. One day his wife, my great-grandmother, opened the screen door to find his lifeless body wrapped in a sheet dumped on the porch. He was in a mine collapse that day, and the owners of the mine instructed his fellow miners to unceremoniously leave him there without so much as an explanation. His son, my grandfather, was also a miner. He was in a mine collapse on the day my mother was born. He managed to escape, vowing never to mine again, only to take a job at a factory making munitions, where he worked for decades. He died of multiple cancers from what most felt was exposure during his work. My other grandfather on my dad's side was also a miner. He contracted pneumoconiosis, or black lung, and died when I was 5. Imagine being 5 years old and having to try to understand why grandpa talks to you using what I thought looked like a fat cigar held up to his neck, made him sound like a robot. Although I do remember him offering me cookies. My dad worked in a machine shop, then was a custodian. He's a union man. And my mom worked in a shoe factory, a bank, was an Avon lady, cleaned houses, whatever it took, while my dad worked nights to keep the family afloat. My mom's now a real estate agent, self-taught. I remember she had a real estate exam the same morning I was taking my driver's test when I was 16. The both of us up the night before studying and stressing out about it together. I do what I do, not because I think it's the right thing for those in our workforce system who struggle every day to navigate the everyday challenges of our economy. I do what I do because I've lived it. Generations of my family have lived it. I do it because I don't know any other way. And as my father always said to me, I want those to come after me to have it at least a little bit better than I have had it. If I can help just a little in some small way, I think I'm doing my job. And I teach the same thing to my 10-year-old daughter. I say all this because it shows this committee the perspective I try to bring to this position on the State Workforce Board. I often say that we each have our own seats on the bus, and it has been a privilege to sit in this seat on a bus filled with such diverse and highly knowledgeable and qualified individuals, led by our peerless chair, Guy Langevin, who I'm honored to share this agenda with today, and you'll hear from a little bit later. I look forward to working with this board, if it's your proclivity and the proclivity of the Senate, to vote in affirmation, and with the staff as we continue to work to meet the needs of Maine's workforce system. I hope that my perspective does and will continue to bring value to the discussion, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shedlock, and thank you for sharing your very powerful personal story. Do I have any questions from the committee? Representative Rader.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Mr. Shedlock, I would just love to hear a little bit more about how your experience with apprenticeships will inform your work on the board. I know that's something that we've heard a lot about in this committee, and yeah, would just like to hear your thoughts.
Sure, no, I appreciate that. And, as you know, sitting on the Maine Apprenticeship Council, we have apprenticeships come across our desk and our computers every day, and we have a certain standard that they need to meet, and we approve them or we send them back to be tweaked and enhanced, working with the staff at the Maine Apprenticeship Office to provide technical assistance to apprenticeship. The important thing that we have to understand here is that as we move forward as a state, a lot of investment, both from the federal level and the statewide level, and we can always use more. And I know we've talked about that in this committee, to make sure that we're backfilling some of the attrition that we're seeing, both from folks aging out and from people leaving the state because they know that they can make $20 more an hour, $25 more an hour if they drive 2 hours, 3 hours south to go work in Boston, in and around the Boston area. So we want to make sure that we're training people in a tried and true and thoroughly vetted way, both approved by the United States Department of Labor and the State Department of Labor through registered apprenticeship. So, obviously I work for a labor union. I can also say that, as we look at the list of registered apprenticeships in the state, that the large number of registered apprenticeships are non-union. They're in a whole wide range of apprenticeships that are not construction. They're in cosmetology and they're in barbering, although I wouldn't know much about that these days. Back in the day, maybe, but they're in jewelry making and a whole wide range. But the takeaway there is clear in that we need a solid pathway to growth into and staying in the middle class here in Maine so that folks can be productive members of their community and productive players in their local economies. So, the registered apprenticeship model is one that works. It's one that is endorsed and well vetted throughout the country. And it's one that I'm very happy that it's a high priority of this administration and this Department of Labor and the commissioner. And I'm happy to play a part and to help expand it and to help make it better in any way I can.
Great, thank you so much.
I have a question from Representative Sylvester.
Welcome, Mr. Shedlock. Thank you for all your public service. And Representative Rader stole my apprenticeship question, so I will move to my second question, which is one of the charges of the State Workforce Board is to attract both employers but also employees into the state so that we have enough workers to do the work. What policy areas do you think legislators coming into the 131st should consider bringing forward in order to bring new workers into the state?
That's a good question, Representative. And, I certainly appreciate this committee's work in always looking towards the opportunities to make Maine an attractive place for both employees and employers. I think, as we build Maine's economy and certainly as we look to the green economy in the state, whether that's solar and wind, both onshore and off. We want to make sure that when people look to Maine, especially young people, or also people that are coming here for the first time, coming to this country for the first time, bringing skills with them, we want to make sure that they have an opportunity to earn a wage where they can stay here and build a career. And obviously what we like to call a middle-class career in the trades, but it's obviously bigger than the trades. And as people that come after me will also say, is that for us to be attractive, we need to make sure that we have some surety that when folks come here, they have a future here. And it's not just for a job, it's for a career. And obviously, as we know, folks change jobs within their career multiple times these days. It's not like it was when my grandfather was alive, that he was a coal miner for many years, and then he worked in a machine shop for the other half of his career, and then he retired. People change quite a bit, but we want them to change if they do that within the state of Maine. And in order for us to do that, we need to talk about wages, we need to talk about benefits, and we need to talk about retirement. And that's in partnership with employers, because obviously it takes a lot more resources to train new employees and cycle through them than it does to keep employees where they are. So we're always happy to talk with employers in partnership in order to make Maine an attractive place for workers, so that they can build a home here and build a life and a career here.
Thank you, sir.
I have a question for Representative Gear.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and nice to see you, Mr. Shedlock. I have to say, my grandfather and his brothers were some of the folks who took all that coal that was mined by your family and spent long, hot days throwing it at the back of a steel furnace in Pittsburgh. So I share your commitment to making sure that people can actually afford to live productive, contributive, healthy lives in our state. I'm curious, just building on that, your response to that last question, one of the things I think we constantly kind of wrestle with on the Labor and Housing Committee certainly is the insight that Henry Ford had, which is you have to be able to pay your employees enough so that they can afford to buy your products and live in our economy. And I'm just curious, based on the response to that last question, are there particular things that you see us being able to do to fuel that conversation between employers and employees to help us make progress from where we are now?
That's a good question, Representative, and I appreciate that. And it's always nice to see a connection between the northeastern part of the state and the western part of the state. So it's the Keystone State for a reason. So thank you for that. It's a good question, and I think at the end of the day, it goes back to the fact that oftentimes we have hearings like this, or confirmation hearings, or hearings on pieces of legislation. We have discussions with the Chamber of Commerce, and it puzzles me when we talk about raising wages. Those wages then are reinvested back into the communities, into the small businesses, and into Main Street. So my members of the labor union, when they get a raise in their pockets, of course, they should be saving some, and they should be putting things away for college or for whatever future that their family might have. But that money is also going to be reinvested in the communities where they live, work, play, and pray. So, I think that when one steps back and takes a look at the ancillary benefits of compensating a worker fairly, they're going to take a look at, obviously, the atmosphere in the workplace and having workers stay, and loyalty, but then also the economic engines that those workers, are within a community. I talk about, coaching, softball and basketball. It's a privilege for me to be able to do that in the community where I live. Oftentimes my members have to go out of state to make a decent wage so they can raise their family. So they're not home being productive members of their community. So they can't coach their kids. They can't go to church on Sundays. Missy mentioned my role in my church. That's a privilege for me. And, as we think about family sustaining wages, we also think about those individuals being able to stay home with their families in the communities where they live and being productive members of those communities and spending in those communities as well. So, it's not just a business, having to pay $1 more an hour to an employee. And then, there's always consternation in that. And I understand that small businesses are feeling the pinch as well. But as I said in the beginning, the balance of having to train someone up, having to keep someone, having to continually cycle through, bringing in temp workers or bringing in somebody from out of state, that transitory nature, number one, is destabilizing for a business. And number two is destabilizing for a community. And, I'm not from Maine, I'm from away, but what I've learned living here is that the sense of community is very strong. And we want to facilitate that and foster that as much as we can. And I think it goes a long way when we respect our workers and we partner with the business community to understand what all that means.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any further questions from the committee at this time? Seeing none, the chair will now take comments from persons attending this hearing who wish to speak for or against this nomination. As stated in the prior nomination, written statements have been made available to the nominee, and he will have a chance to respond to any written comment. Those wishing to speak in person need to have registered with the committee clerk prior to the start of this hearing. That being said, is there anyone here who has signed up to testify? Seeing none, jumping to the next part of the script, all public comments having been taken, the committee will now proceed as follows. Review any additional written comments on the nomination that have been received, vote on the nomination, and notify the President of the Senate pursuant to Title III MRSA Section 157 and the joint rules, and the vote must be taken within 35 days from the date of the governor's written notice. Seeing no further comment, the hearing by the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing for Mr. Jason Shedlock of South Portland for reappointment to the State Workforce Board is closed. In accordance with the law, the committee may not take the vote on this nomination sooner than 15 minutes after the close of the public hearing, unless all committees who are present agree. Everyone agree? Seeing no objection, the pending question before the committee is that the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing recommend to the Senate of the 130th Maine Legislature that the nomination of Mr. Jason Shedlock of South Portland for reappointment to the State Workforce Board be confirmed. In accordance with 3 MRSA Chapter 6, Section 157 and the joint rules of the 100th Maine Legislature, the vote will be taken by the yeas and nays. A vote of yes will be in favor. A vote of no will be against the motion to recommend confirmation. Is the committee ready for the question? Justin, please call the roll while I get some water.
Senator Daughtry?
Yay.
Senator Daughtry, yay. Senator Guerin?
Yay.
Senator Guerin, yay. Senator Hickman?
Yay.
Senator Hickman, yay. Representative Sylvester?
Yay.
Representative Sylvester, yay. Representative Bradstreet? Yes. Representative Bradstreet, yes. Representative Cuddy?
Yes.
Representative Cuddy, yes. Representative Drinkwater?
Yes.
Representative Drinkwater, yes. Representative Geer?
Yes.
Representative Geers, yes. Representative Morris?
Yes.
Representative Morris is yes. Representative Pebworth?
Thank you, Mr. Shedlock. Yes.
Representative Pebworth is yes. Representative Prescott is absent. Representative Rader?
Yes.
Representative Rader is yes. And Representative Warren is absent. So we have 11 in favor, 2 absent.
Thank you, Justin. 11 members of the committee having voted in the affirmative and 0 in the negative, it is the vote of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing that the nomination of Mr. Jason Shedlock of South Portland for reappointment to the State Workforce Board be confirmed. Congratulations, Mr. Shedlock, and thank you for your service. Senator Guerin.
I just wanted to take a moment kind of off the record and thank Representative Rader, who is not in my party, for those people who think we never get along, for taking pity on me and sending DoorDash with a cup of coffee and a dozen donuts. So thank you so much, Amy. I appreciate your kindness, and it's nice when we can work well together.
You're very, very welcome.
Does anybody out there need my address?
we definitely need to make sure we can figure out some drones, and I'm glad. Thank you, Amy, for your kindness. And it goes to show how well we all work together. And definitely, it's also a reminder for me that we should figure out our after session socials so that we can all get to see each other in person as well. With that, I want to triple check, Justin. Our next one is Grant Provost, correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And of course, my computer is glitching as I'm pulling up the script. Okay. With that, if we can move Mr. Provost in, and we should be good there. Okay, it says he's rejoining as a panelist. Wait till he's able to be on screen. Welcome, Mr. Provost. Just to confirm, is it Provost for the last name?
Correct.
Before I have to say it 4 times, I want to make sure I wasn't completely and utterly massacring it. And with that, this is a public hearing of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing for the purpose of considering the nomination by the governor of Mr. Grant Provost of Brunswick, the best town in the state, for reappointment to the State Workforce Board. Under the law and joint rules of the legislature, this committee is required to hold this public hearing and to recommend confirmation or denial of the nominee by majority vote of the committee members present and voting. As chairs of the committee, we will then send written notice of the committee's recommendations to the President of the Senate. The committee will hear testimony from and have an opportunity to question the governor or representative, the nominee, or any other persons present who wish to speak for or against. As I said before, this is being streamed live on the internet and will be available on our YouTube channel, so don't say anything you wouldn't want your grandmother to hear. Pursuant to Title III, Section 157 of the Maine statutes, which requires that there be an affirmative motion to recommend confirmation of the nominee, the chair recognizes Representative Sylvester for the purpose of making such a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing recommend confirmation of Mr. Grant Provost of Brunswick for reappointment to the State Workforce Board.
Thank you. The chair now recognizes Missy O'Neill Lowe for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination.
Thank you, Senator Daughtry, Representative Sylvester, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing. I am Melissa O'Neill Lowe, and I'm the Director of Boards and Commissions for Governor Janet Mills. I'm here today on behalf of the governor to speak in support of the nomination for reappointment to Grant Provost of South Berwick as a member of the State Workforce Board. If it pleases the committee, I would like to skip over each nominee going forward, statutory reference, since we did that in the beginning. Grant Provost of South Berwick is being reappointed for nomination to his seat, which is reserved for a representative of labor. Grant comes before you today as an experienced laborer and is the business agent industry analyst for Iron Workers Local 7 here in Maine. He is an AFL-CIO executive board member, a 20-year veteran of the Iron Workers Local 7 executive board, and many other labor-related boards. Mr. Provost has run an apprenticeship program for Iron Workers Local 7 and is quite familiar with the challenges our labor unions are seeing with an aging workforce. He is a member of the State Building Trades and Construction Trades and attended the AFL-CIO Leadership Institute. His experience in labor-related workforce development issues will continue to bring a needed perspective to the Maine State Workforce Board. For these reasons, on behalf of Governor Mills, I would ask that you support the nomination for the reappointment of Grant Provost of South Berwick to the Maine State Workforce Board. I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody has at this time.
Thank you so much. Does the committee have any questions concerning this nomination? Seeing none, the chair now recognizes Mr. Grant Provost for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination. And welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate the kind words. Senator Daughtry, you are correct. I have recently moved to Brunswick, so it's new information. Appreciate the time today. Thank you. Thank you for the kind words, Mr. Good morning, Senator Daughtry, Representative Sylvester, and members of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing. My name is Grant Provost. I'm the business agent for Iron Workers Local 7 in the state of Maine. I'm also an AFL-CIO executive board member. I serve on the Maine State Workforce Board, the Western Maine and Central Maine Workforce Board, where I'm co-chair, the Maine State Construction Wage Board, and the Offshore Wind Roadmap Advisory Board. I am honored to be selected for the possible second term on the Maine State Workforce Board. I was born in Farmington and I grew up in Mercer and Skowhegan. I graduated from Skowhegan Area High School in 1999, where I went directly to work for the Iron Workers Union. First in Local 496 and now in Local 7. I worked in the trade on the tools for 19 years. From a 4-year apprenticeship program to running whole projects, I fully enjoyed my time in the field. Currently, I am proudly serving my second term as business agent, a position I was elected to by the membership of Iron Workers Local 7. I'm excited to expand apprenticeship programs throughout the state, as they are immensely beneficial to Maine's workforce as well as business owners. I am also looking forward to helping the state meet not only its climate goals, but its economic goals as well. Adhering to the governor's 10-year economic plan while creating thousands of new, good-paying careers in green infrastructure and technologies. Solar, tidal, hydrogen gas, on and offshore wind technologies will provide energy and employment of the future. These new technologies offer a chance for Maine to make a difference in the most disadvantaged communities by curbing climate change and providing avenues to excellent jobs and careers. Speaking today as a multi-generational Mainer, I am proud to be afforded the opportunity to give back to my community. If confirmed, I look forward to working with the members of the Maine State Workforce Board and creating a bright economic future all Mainers can enjoy. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do I have any questions from the committee? Seeing none, the chair will now take comments from persons attending this hearing who wish to speak for or against this nomination. Is there anyone present who would like to speak on this nomination? We have no one signed up, correct, Justin?
That is correct.
Having taken all public comments, the committee will now proceed as follows: review any additional written comments on the nomination that have been received by the committee, vote on the nomination, notify the President of the Senate pursuant to Title III MRSA Section 157 and the joint rules, and the vote must be taken within 35 days from the date of the governor's written notice. The hearing by the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing for Mr. Grant Provost of Brunswick for reappointment to the State Workforce Board is closed. In accordance with the law, the committee may not take the vote on this nomination sooner than 15 minutes after close of the public hearing unless all committee members who are present agree at this time. Therefore, the chair will inquire whether any member present objects to proceeding to taking the vote immediately. Are there any objections? Seeing no objections, the pending question before the committee is that the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing recommend to the Senate of the 130th Maine Legislature that the nomination of Mr. Grant Provost of Brunswick for reappointment to the State Workforce Board be confirmed. In accordance with 3 MRSA Section 6, Section 157, and the joint rules of the 130th Maine Legislature, the vote will be taken by the yeas and nays. I hope at this point you understand that a vote of yay means yay and a vote of no means no. Is the committee ready for the question? The committee clerk will call the roll.
Senator Daughtry?
Yay.
Senator Daughtry, yay. Senator Guerin?
Yay.
Senator Guerin, yay. Senator Hickman?
Yay.
Senator Hickman, yay. Representative Sylvester?
Yay.
Representative Sylvester's yay. Representative Bradstreet? Yes. Representative Bradstreet's yes. Representative Cuddy?
Yes.
Representative Cuddy's yes. Representative Drinkwater? He's here. No. Representative Drinkwater is absent. Representative Gear is absent. I think Representative Gear is coming back right now, so I'll check with him in just a second. Representative Morris.
Yes.
Okay, Representative Morris is yes. Representative Pepworth.
Thank you, Mr. Provost, for offering to serve again. Yes.
Representative Pepworth is yes. Representative Prescott's absent. Representative Rader.
Yes.
Representative Rader is yes. Representative Warren's absent. Representative Gear.
Yes.
Representative Gear is yes. Okay, so we have 10 in favor, 3 absent.
Thank you so much, Mr. Purvis. 10 members of the committee having voted in the affirmative and 0 in the negative. It is the vote of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing that the nomination of Mr. Grant Provost of Brunswick for reappointment to the State Workforce Board be confirmed. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate your work. Thank you.
At this time, I will ask the committee, can we take like a 3-minute break for everyone just to get up and stretch? And then Justin or Missy, if you guys can get me who wants to go next, if we're going to switch to alphabetical, or who would be next for time. But with that, 3 minutes, I'm actually setting a timer. Everyone stretch, grab a glass of water, and we will jump right back in. And that is my 3-minute timer going off. So I will ask the committee to reassemble. And Justin, let's see, who do we have up next? Missy, if I can ask, do we want to go back to taking everyone alphabetically at this point, or if there are any other members present who have time constraints?
Thanks, Senator. The only other that I do know of is Jennifer O'Leary has a time constraint. She needs to be somewhere in the 2 o'clock range. So, and she is currently third to last. So if you anticipate that these will take a little bit longer, which it seems like everybody's liking to ask some questions, and which is very understandable, maybe we move Jennifer up forward. And the other person is Luann Ballesteros. Luann had to be somewhere by 12:30, I believe. Oh, she just texted me and said she's moving things around. So
why don't we take Luann and then Jen O'Leary? Does that work for everyone?
And then I've also gotten a note from Guy Langevin. He's got a 1 o'clock that he needs to be at. So I apologize for that. I think we didn't realize that we'd be starting a little bit late, which is fine. Why don't you let me know, Senator, what works for you all? So we've got Luann, she's moved her things around. She said Guy needs to be somewhere by 1. It's noon now. And then Jen O'Leary needs to be done by 2.
Okay, if Luann, if you have been able to move things around, maybe we go Guy, Luann, and then Jen O'Leary. Does that work?
That seems great for me. So we'll go Guy, Luann, Jen, and then Dr. Longsad, Gordon McLear, Chris Morley, and the Honorable John Patrick, and then Robin Wood. Oh, now Robin is messaging too, so let's just.
Okay. And once again, thank you everyone for your patience. Apologies for the tech issues and script delays this morning.
Senator, I did just receive word from Robin Wood that she also has a 1 p.m.
1 p.m.
Yeah.
Okay. And Jen was 2. So Robin, we're going to see how fast we can get through this, and I will put you after Luann, unless Luann, you're able to move things around. If you want to check in with Missy, we can sort of flip folks in that little section there to make sure we're getting people out in time. So with that in mind, let's jump in with Guy. How do you say your last name, Missy, if you wouldn't mind with the pronunciation here?
Langevin. I hope I'm not saying it wrong, Langevin. So we'll do Guy, Robin, and then Luann. Is that how you want to do it? And then Jen?
Yeah, so
or Jen before Luann.
Let's see what time we're at that point.
Okay, seems that Luann is clear and Jen has a 2 p.m. So
then, yeah, let's do Guy, Robin, Jen, and then Luann, right?
Okay. Yeah, I think that's it. And if not, then we'll deal with it, I guess, when it comes. Thank you so much for your flexibility. I appreciate it.
Mr. Langevin, is it Mr. Langevin? Are we saying it correctly?
Yeah.
Okay, what? Well, we have the script right here, just popping it open and we'll jump right in. Committee members, any questions before we start again? Okay. So welcome both back, folks. This is the public hearing of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing for the purpose of considering the nomination by the governor of Mr. Guy Langevin of Scarborough for reappointment to the State Workforce Board. Under the law and joint rules of the legislature, this committee is required to hold this public hearing and to recommend confirmation or denial of the nominee by the majority vote of the committee members present and voting. As chairs of the committee, we will then send written notice of the committee's recommendations to the President of the Senate. The committee will have the opportunity to have testimony from and an opportunity to question the governor or representative, the nominee, and any other persons present who wish to speak for or against. Once again, it's still being live streamed, so still keep that in mind. Pursuant to Title III, Section 157 of the main statute, there be an affirmative motion to recommend confirmation of the nominee. The chair recognizes Representative Sylvester for the purpose of making such a motion.
I move that the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing recommend confirmation of Mr. Guy Langevin of Scarborough for reappointment to the State Workforce Board.
Once again, the title of the position and legal requirements for the nominee is available at the rostrum physically in the building, as well as the chair now recognizes Missy O'Neill for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination.
Thank you, Senator Daughtry, Representative Sylvester, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing. My name is Melissa O'Neill Lowe, and I am the Director of Boards and Commissions for Governor Janet Mills. I'm here today on behalf of the governor to speak in support of the nomination for reappointment of Guy Langevin of Scarborough to the State Workforce Board. Guy Langevin is being nominated for reappointment to a seat that requires the nominee be representative of a business in our state. Mr. Langevin is the Executive Vice President of Human Resources and the Chief Administrative Officer for Dead River Company, a large multi-state oil and gas distributor. He provides executive leadership for human resources, organizational development, enterprise risk management, safety, legal, information technology, strategic planning, and business optimization. As a human resource professional, he is very well aware of the challenges facing Maine's workforce and undoubtedly will continue to bring that knowledge and skill set to the board. He holds a BA in psychology from the University of Southern Maine and an MA from the City University of New York. He has attended the Harvard Business School Executive Education Program and Risk Management for Corporate Leaders, as well as MIT's Sloan Executive Education Program and Essential IT for non-IT executives. On behalf of the governor, I would ask that you support the nomination for reappointment of Guy Langevin of Scarborough to the Maine State Workforce Board. We believe that this nomination will provide and continue to provide very fruitful information to the Maine State Workforce Board. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have, and thank you for your time this afternoon.
Thank you so much. And I guess it is now officially technically afternoon. Does the committee have any questions at this time? Seeing none, the chair now recognizes Mr. Guy Langevin for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination. Welcome.
Thank you, Senator Daughtry, Representative Sylvester, members of the Labor and Housing Committee. My name is Guy Langevin from Scarborough, and I'm here to discuss my nomination for the State Workforce Board. As explained, I'm the Executive Vice President of Human Resources and Chief Administrative Officer for Dead River Company. We're an oil and gas marketer. I suspect most of you have heard of us. We have about 1,200 employees across the state of Maine in all corners of Maine. Workforce and economic development are important to Dead River Company and have been a passion of mine for years. In 2013, I joined the board of directors for Maine & Company, and I'm currently the board chair for Maine & Company. Maine & Company provides consulting services to businesses who are looking to relocate to Maine or to expand their business within Maine. In this role, I gain firsthand knowledge of workforce skills employers are seeking when considering a location in Maine. I've been a member of the State Workforce Board since 2017, and in 2019, I had the honor of having Governor Mills appoint me as chair of that board. I welcome any questions from the committee.
Thank you so much, Mr. Langevin. Do I have any questions from the committee? Representative Hepworth.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, sir, for being with us today. I always fight to ask questions that are pertinent rather that I am just curious about. And we rarely talk about the armed services in this committee. And I'm curious if your service, your choice of that particular path, how that might influence your work on the board, and how you see that fitting or not being such a great fit for the young folks in Maine.
So it affects everything I do. It's had such a, my service has had an impact on my early career and how I lead. And I have found I've experienced those same challenges that veterans who are looking for employment in Maine or anywhere in the United States that we face. A lot of it is the translation of transferable skills that you gain in the military, but that how they translate into the civilian world. We speak different languages. It's just hard to interpret, and that actually has been one of the things that I've tried to champion. We are at Dead River Company, we're heavily involved in the Hire a Vet campaign. We've been recognized each year for our veteran hiring, to include recognition from the United States Department of Labor with their Hire Vets Gold Medallion Award. And we're very supportive. I'm very supportive of organizations such as Boots to Roots, which is unique to Maine and has started to form here probably 5 years ago or so. And what Boots to Roots does is help active duty military members who are transitioning to the civilian workforce to find work, to find housing, to just kind of make a connection. If you can imagine you've been in the military and you've served all over the country, all over the world, and you try to lay roots someplace, the most important, most valuable thing that I have, that we probably all have, is our network. People you can lean on when you're looking for a job or you need support. And Boots to Roots provides that. It's like this built-in network. So employers who are supportive of that work with Boots to Roots. And if there is interest from a transitioning service member into Maine who has interest in Dead River Company, just because they're connected with Boots to Roots, we will grant them an interview, even if it's just informational. I would also say, with the governor's goal with the Maine's economic development plan, the 10-year plan, we identified 75,000 workers, what we'll need over the next 10 years. Maine's population just is not growing at that rate to bring that many new workers into our economy in order to grow. I think there's an opportunity with transitioning veterans. The Veterans Administration reports that there are approximately 200,000 active duty military members who transition each year into the civilian workforce. So doing things to attract that workforce to Maine and the opportunities we have here is certainly a pipeline that we need to pursue. So yes, I have passion about hiring veterans and getting them into Maine.
That is great. I am so glad you're willing to be reappointed to this board.
Thank you. Do you have any further questions from the committee at this time? Seeing none, the chair will now take comments from persons attending this hearing who wish to speak for or against this nomination. Justin, at this time, do we have anyone who signed up to testify?
No.
All public comments having been taken, the committee will now proceed as follows. Review any additional written comments on the nomination that have been received by the committee. Vote on the nomination and notify the President of the Senate pursuant to Title III MRSA Section 157 and the joint rules. The vote must be taken within 35 days from the date of the governor's written notice. With that, the hearing by the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing for Mr. Guy Langevin of Scarborough for reappointment to the State Workforce Board is closed. And in accordance with the law, the committee may not take the vote on this nomination sooner than 15 minutes after the close of the public hearing, unless all committee members who are present agree. At this time, therefore, the chair will inquire whether any member present objects to proceeding to taking the vote immediately. Seeing no objection, the pending question before the committee is the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing recommend to the Senate of the 130th Maine Legislature that the nomination of Mr. Guy Langevin of Scarborough for reappointment to the State Workforce Board be confirmed. In accordance with 3 MRSA Section 6, Chapter 6, Section 157, and with the joint rules of the 130th Legislature, the votes will be taken by the yeas and nays. The committee clerk will call the roll.
Senator Daughtry?
Yay.
Senator Guerin?
Yay.
Senator Hickman?
Yay.
Senator Hickman's yay. Representative Sylvester?
Yay.
Representative Sylvester is yay. I'm gonna go backtrack. Senator Daughtry, because I'm supposed to do this, is yay, and so is Senator Guerin. Sorry, is yay. I have to do that. Sorry.
Okay.
Representative Bradstreet? Yes.
Representative Bradstreet is yes. Representative Cuddy.
Yes.
Representative Cuddy is yes. Representative Drinkwater is absent. Representative Gear.
Yes.
Representative Gear is yes. Representative Morris.
Yes.
Representative Morris is yes. Representative Pebworth.
Yes.
Representative Pebworth is yes. Representative Prescott is absent. Representative Rader.
Yes.
Representative Rader is yes. Representative Warren.
Yes.
Representative Warren is yes. So we have 11 in favor, 2 absent.
Thank you very much, Justin. 11 having voted in the affirmative and 0 in the negative. It is the vote of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing that the nomination of Mr. Guy Langevin of Scarborough for reappointment to the State Workforce Board be confirmed. Congratulations.
Thank you for the opportunity to serve.
Thank you for your willingness to serve as well. Up next, we have Robin Wood. Robin, I'm promoting you over. And Justin, if you'd be so kind as to put Robin's script and packet into the chat. I'm pulling it up myself. And with that, jumping right in again. This is the public hearing of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing for the purpose of considering the nomination by the governor of Ms. Robin Wood of West Gardner for appointment to the State Workforce Board. Under the law and joint rules of the legislature, this committee is required to hold this public hearing and to recommend confirmation or denial of the nominee by a majority vote of the committee members present and voting. As chairs of the committee, we will then send written notice of the committee's recommendations to the President of the Senate. Pursuant to Title III, Section 157 of the main statutes, which requires there be an affirmative motion to recommend confirmation of the nominee, the chair recognizes Representative Sylvester for the purpose of making such a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing recommend confirmation of Ms. Robin Wood of West Gardner for appointment to the State Workforce Board.
The chair now recognizes Missy O'Neill Lowe for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination.
Thank you again, Senator Daughtry and Representative Sylvester, distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing. I am Melissa O'Neill Lowe, and I am the Director of Boards and Commissions for Governor Janet Mills. I'm here today on behalf of the governor to ask for your support in the nomination of Robin Wood of West Gardner to the State Workforce Board. Robin is being appointed to a seat requiring the member be a representative of business in our state. Ms. Wood comes to us as the Director of Human Resources for Reed & Reed, one of Northern New England's largest and most versatile general contractors. She is a member of the Maine Apprenticeship Council. With nearly 30 years of human resource management experience, Ms. Wood undoubtedly is quite aware of the challenges our workforce here in Maine experience on a regular basis. She is familiar with labor issues, employee retention, and growing Reed & Reed's employee base and deeply understands benefits management. On behalf of the governor, I would ask that you support the nomination of Robin Wood of West Gardner to the Maine State Workforce Board. I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody has at this time, and thank you for your time again this afternoon.
Thank you so much. The chair now recognizes, oh wait, my script, I totally messed up, but the chair now recognizes Robin Wood for the purposes of making a statement concerning this nomination. And welcome.
Thank you, Senator Daughtry, Representative Sylvester, and members of the Housing and Labor and Housing Committee. My name is Robin Wood. I'm from West Gardner, Maine, and it's my honor to be nominated for the Workforce Board. I'm excited to share my experience in human resources, and I see the significant workforce needs in the state of Maine, and strongly believe that there are some incredible opportunities available to both employers and employees. I also believe that communicating those current and future opportunities, as well as working together, we can really move things forward in a positive direction for everyone. I'm proud to serve on both the NAWIC Maine and AGC boards, as well as the Maine Apprenticeship Council and on the Westbrook CTE Advisory Board. These opportunities have provided many opportunities for me to collaborate with so many people who are all working for the greater good. I'm also pleased by the efforts of the Apprenticeship Council and excited to see the number of participants in the apprenticeship program in just the last 5 years has almost tripled from just over 1,000 in 2017 to over 2,800. This is definitely forward momentum, and with over 42% of those folks being in the construction trades, that's an incredible thing for me as a representative of Reed & Reed. I appreciate the governor's nomination, and I thank you for your consideration and this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wood. Do I have any questions from the committee at this time? Seeing none, the chair will now take comments from persons attending this hearing who wish to speak for or against this nomination. Justin, do we have anyone signed up?
No.
All public comments having been taken, the committee will now proceed as follows. Review any additional written comments on the nomination that have been received by the committee and vote on the nomination. Notify the President of the Senate pursuant to Title III MRSA Section 157 in the joint rules. The vote must be taken within 35 days from the date of the governor's written notice. With that, the hearing by the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing for Ms. Robin Wood of West Gardner for appointment to the State Workforce Board is closed. In accordance with the law, the committee may not take the vote on this nomination sooner than 15 minutes at the close of the public hearing unless all committee members agree. Does anyone object? Seeing no objection, the pending question before the committee is the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing recommend to the Senate of the 130th Maine Legislature that the nomination of Ms. Robin Wood of West Gardner for appointment to the State Workforce Board be confirmed. In accordance with 3 MRSA Section 6, Chapter 6, Section 157, and with the joint rules of the 130th Legislature, the vote will be taken by the yeas and nays. The committee clerk will call the roll.
Senator Guerin? Sorry, Senator Daughtry. I'm getting ahead of myself here.
Okay.
And what is your choice, Senator Daughtry? I apologize. I didn't hear you.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Senator Guerin now.
Yes.
Senator Guerin is yes. Senator Hickman.
Enthusiastically, yes.
Senator Hickman is yes. Representative Sylvester. Representative Sylvester is absent. Representative Bradstreet.
Yes.
Representative Bradstreet's yes. Representative Cuddy.
Yes.
Representative Cuddy's yes. Representative Drinkwater's absent. Representative Gear.
Yes.
Representative Gear is yes. Representative Morris.
Yes.
Representative Morris is yes. Representative Pebworth.
An enthusiastic yes over here as well.
Okay. Representative Pebworth is yes. Representative Prescott is absent. Representative Rader.
Yes.
Representative Rader is yes. Representative Warren.
Yes.
Representative Warren's yes. And I see Representative Sylvester is back. What is your choice, Representative Sylvester?
Yes.
Representative Sylvester is yes. Okay, so we have 11 in favor. Sorry. Yes, 11 in favor. Sorry, 12 in favor, 1 absent. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Justin. 12 having voted in the affirmative and 0 in the negative. It is the vote of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing that Ms. Robin Wood be confirmed. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard. Thank you.
For your willingness to serve. Up next, I'm going to be transitioning Jen O'Leary into the webinar. Justin, if you wouldn't mind popping the script for everyone into the chat and closing through the other scripts that we have. I'm not sure if it's faster when we have the giant stacks of paper or when it's digital. Okay. With that, we've got Miss O'Leary with us. I will open the public hearing of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing for the purpose of considering the nomination by the governor, Miss Jen O'Leary of the wonderful town of Brunswick, for appointment to the State Workforce Board. Under the law and joint rules of the legislature, this committee is required to hold this public hearing and to recommend confirmation or denial of the nominee by the majority vote of the committee members present and voting. As chairs of the committee, we will then send written notice of the committee's recommendations to the president of the Senate. Pursuant to Title III, Section 157 of the Maine statutes, which requires that there be an affirmative motion to recommend confirmation of the nominee, the chair recognizes Representative Sylvester for the purpose of making such a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing recommend the confirmation of Ms. Jennifer O'Leary of Brunswick for appointment to the State Workforce Board.
Thank you. As stated before, the title, the position, and legal requirements for the nomination are available online and at the rostrum. The chair now recognizes Missy O'Neill Lowe for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination.
Thank you, Senator Daughtry, Representative Sylvester, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing. My name is Melissa O'Neill Lowe, and I am the Director of Boards and Commissions for Governor Janet Mills. I'm here today on behalf of the Governor to speak in support of the nomination of Jennifer O'Leary of Brunswick to the Maine State Workforce Board. Ms. O'Leary is being appointed to the State Workforce Board as a representative of business in our state and currently holds the position of Director of Maine Health Center for Workforce Development. Maine Health is Maine's largest private employer and employs over 22,000 employees. In her current role, Jennifer has a bird's eye view into the current needs of Maine's workforce in healthcare, where she helps lead team retention and growth opportunities for all employees across the system. Jennifer is familiar with the necessary training and funding opportunities with the educational institutions, state, local, and municipal governments, and community institutions where a deep level of understanding is needed in order to bring program development and support for a priority healthcare workforce. Jennifer holds a BS in Business Administration and an MS in Adult Education, Training, and Development from the University of Southern Maine. She is a certified career services provider through the National Career Development Association and will bring these expertises to her service on the Maine State Workforce Board. It is for these reasons and many more that on behalf of Governor Mills, I would ask that you support the nomination of Jennifer O'Leary of Brunswick to the Maine State Workforce Board. I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody has at this time. And again, thank you for your time this afternoon.
Thank you so much. Do you have any questions from the committee? Seeing none, the chair now recognizes Ms. Jen O'Leary for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination. Lovely to see you, and the floor is yours.
All right, excellent. Senator Daughtry, Representative Sylvester, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing. My name is Jennifer O'Leary, and I live in Brunswick. I'm honored to be nominated to the State Workforce Board and to be here with you today, and thanks, Missy, for those comments as well. My professional career is focused on Maine's current and future workforce, and I look forward to bringing that experience to the board. A little bit about me, I'm originally from Houlton, Maine, which is located in Aroostook County, which is the county. And I entered the workforce picking potatoes, and I think it was 50 cents a barrel, and it went up to 75 cents by the time I had gotten done. I was raised by two hardworking parents who were born, raised, and still live in the county. And I'm a first-generation college student. And I also am a very proud parent of an elementary school student who is also just starting to develop her awareness about careers and opportunities for her. I have over 20 years experience across different environments from corporate, education to healthcare within the state of Maine and beyond. My experiences have afforded me the background and partnerships to understand nuances in those areas and have ultimately helped me streamline outcomes in a strategic way. I believe these skills will help the board with the board's goal of ensuring the state's workforce development system is helping Maine people and businesses compete successfully in the global economy. Today, I'm proud to be the director of the Maine Health Center for Workforce Development. Maine Health, as Missy stated, is a nonprofit healthcare system that provides full continuum of healthcare services to the residents of 11 counties in Maine and 1 in New Hampshire through its 9 local health systems. Maine Health is also the state's largest private employer with over 22,000 care team members. The Center for Workforce Development was created in 2018 to partner exclusively, both internally and externally, to ensure the upskilling of our entry-level workers and provide awareness around healthcare careers to our youth and deploy innovative and best practices and programs to support our current care team members and potential workforce. A couple examples of that, we partner within our educational and outreach partners to offer priority trainings. One area is on-site English language learning opportunities to current workforce members. We do career coaching as well for on-site care team members in entry-level roles to help support them in career pathways. And we provide healthcare career awareness programs for youth and families across our state and region that ultimately will pipeline them into employment. This work is central to supporting the Maine Health vision of working together so our communities are the healthiest in America. Thank you in advance for your support of my nomination to join the State Workforce Board and be part of this meaningful work. I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much. I have a question from Representative Bradstreet.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, no question, really, just an observation. I appreciate your broad breadth of experience. I noticed you worked at Barron's, and that's good. I also wanted to say it's just nice to meet another person who grew up on a potato farm as I did and picked potatoes. when the per barrel amount was a bit less than what you're talking about, but it was an earlier generation. So it's good to see you here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Pebworth.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ms. O'Leary, for being here today. I was curious, I was really appreciating your resume and also noticing that new position shows up more than I've ever seen it on a resume, and wondered if you could talk a little bit about that experience for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's one of the pieces of who I am as a person, and all my roles generally for a long time have either been created or brand new. So I would say that in workforce development, that's a very good benefit to have, because things change all the time. But yeah, I think coming in, standing up programs, hoping that they can succeed, and really just kind of that, I would say almost like an innovative streak to what I do, and what I am attracted to in my professional development has, not many people pick that up. So I'm glad that you noticed that. So does that answer your question?
It does. I have a feeling I could pepper you with questions about your experience for a long time, but I really am honoring the committee process. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
I'm sure there'll definitely be more opportunities to be able to ask Ms. O'Leary more questions as well. Representative Gear.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for being here, Ms. O'Leary, and for your willingness to volunteer in this role. I'm curious about from your perspective in the healthcare field, which is we have a lot of challenges in filling jobs and keeping workers here. What would you say would be the top 2 priority items that Maine should be focused on moving forward?
Well, I think that, I'll just speak to my sense from, our centers really focus on upskilling current employees. And so we meet them once they're in the door. And so I think for us, it's about retaining them and making sure they're engaged, because, as much as we bring these workers in, we need to keep them. And so that's kind of the career coaching pieces and how we're doing that. The other piece I would say is probably just partnering. I mean, there's so many, programs and pieces, and they all touch. And so from an employee standpoint, how can we as an employer kind of demystify the process, right? So if people need to succeed, and, we've tried to add in different elements tied to community supports and education. And so once people come into us as an employee, as an employer, we're just kind of helping them around their whole career trajectory. And kind of, I go back to demystifying it, but trying to make it easy and meeting people where they're at in their journey. Someone else earlier in the hearing had mentioned kind of different innovations and pieces like that. And I mean, that's obviously important work that has to keep going. Maine is a great state, and one that I obviously love and have passion for, but, how can we learn from others as well? So it's all important, lots of different levers to pull for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Do you have any further questions from the committee? Seeing none, the chair will now take comments from persons attending this hearing who wish to speak for or against this nomination. Justin, at this time, do we have anyone present who intends to testify?
We do not.
With that, all public comments having been taken, the committee will now proceed as follows. Review any additional written comments to the nomination that have been received by the committee, vote on the nomination, notify the President of the Senate pursuant to Title III, Section 157 in the joint rules. The vote must be taken within 35 days from the date of the governor's written notice. With all of that, the hearing by the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing for Ms. Jennifer O'Leary of Brunswick for appointment to the State Workforce Board is closed. In accordance with the law, the committee may not take the vote on this nomination sooner than 15 minutes after the close of the public hearing, unless all committee members who are present agree. At this time, therefore, the chair will inquire whether any member present objects to proceeding taking the vote immediately. Seeing no objection, the pending question before the committee is that the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing recommend to the Senate of the 130th Maine Legislature that the nomination of Ms. Jennifer O'Leary for Brunswick for appointment to the State Workforce Board be confirmed. In accordance with 3 MRSA Section 6, I don't know why I keep flipping those, Chapter 6, Section 157, and the joint rules of the 130th Legislature, the vote will be taken by the yeas and nays. The committee clerk will call the roll.
Senator Daughtry?
Yay.
Senator Daughtry, yay. Senator Guerin?
Yay.
Senator Guerin, yay. Senator Hickman,
Yay.
Senator Hickman, yay. Representative Sylvester,
Yay.
Representative Sylvester, yay. Representative Bradstreet,
Yes.
Representative Bradstreet, yes. Representative Cuddy,
Yes.
Representative Cuddy, yes. Representative Drinkwater is absent. Representative Gear,
Yes.
Representative Gear is yes. Representative Morris,
Yes.
Representative Morris is yes. Representative Pebworth,
Yes.
Representative Pebworth is yes. Representative Prescott is absent. Representative Rader,
Yes.
Representative Rader is yes. Representative Warren,
Yes.
Representative Warren is yes. So we have 11 in favor, 2 absent.
Thank you so much. 11 members of the committee having voted in the affirmative and 0 in the negative is the vote of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing that the nomination of Ms. Jennifer O'Leary of Brunswick for appointment to the State Workforce Board be confirmed. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Okay, moving right along. Justin, if you will pop in the materials for Luann. And I will port Luann over. And Luann, before I begin, if you could just please inform me how to correctly pronounce your name. Let's see.
Hi there, happy to do so. It is Ballesteros. Unless you're my father-in-law, and then you'd say Ballesteros, but I'm not going to hold you to that.
Ballesteros. Okay. Got that, and I have the script. Maybe my Greek family pronunciation will help with that.
You know, I'll answer to just about anything.
Perfect. And I apologize, for some reason the script is not opening for me. Okay, there we go. So with that, I will open the public hearing on the Joint Standing Committee of Labor and Housing for the purpose of considering the nomination by the governor of Ms. Luann Ballesteros of Glenburn for reappointment to the State Workforce Board. Under the law and joint rules of the legislature, this committee is required to hold this public hearing and to recommend confirmation or denial of the nominee by majority vote of the committee members present and voting. As chairs of the committee, we will then send written notice of the committee's recommendations to the President of the Senate. Pursuant to Title III, Section 157 of the Maine statutes, which requires that there be an affirmative motion to recommend confirmation of the nominee, the chair now recognizes Representative Sylvester for the purpose of making such a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing recommend confirmation of Ms. Luann Ballesteros of Glenburn for reappointment to the State Workforce Board.
As stated previously, a title of position, the legal requirements for this nominee are available online and at the rostrum, and the chair now recognizes Missy O'Neill Lowe for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination.
Thank you. Once again, Senator Daughtry, Representative Sylvester, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing. I am still Melissa O'Neill Lowe, and I am the Director of Boards and Commissions for Governor Janet Mills. I'm here today on behalf of the governor to speak in support of the nomination for reappointment of Luann Ballesteros of Glenburn to the State Workforce Board. Ms. Ballesteros of Glenburn is being nominated for reappointment as a business representative of the state. She is no stranger to public service, having served on this board since 2018. She is the vice chair of the Maine State Chamber of Commerce, serves on the Economic Growth Council, was the Jackson Laboratories designee to the Maine Innovation Economy Advisory Board, and served on Maine Community Foundation's Learning Exchange for Equity. Ms. Ballesteros serves on the senior management team as Vice President of External and Governmental Affairs at Jackson Laboratories in Bar Harbor, one of Down East Maine's largest employers. She holds a bachelor's degree in paralegal studies from Husson College and is a member of the National Association of Legal Professionals. For these reasons and many others, that on behalf of Governor Mills, I would ask that you support the nomination for reappointment of Luann Ballesteros of Glenburn for reappointment to the Maine State Workforce Board. If anybody has any questions at this time, I'd be happy to answer them. And again, thank you for spending so much time with me today.
Thank you so much. Does the committee have any questions at this time? Seeing none, the chair now recognizes Ms. Luann Ballesteros for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination. Welcome.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Senator Daughtry. After listening to you prattle on about with all of the everything you have to say in the beginning to introduce, I think pronouncing everybody's last name should seem easy to you. That's a mouthful. But anyway, good afternoon, Senator Daughtry, Representative Sylvester, and members of the Committee on Labor and Housing. Thank you for this opportunity to address the committee. And thank you, Missy, for the kind introduction. I am Luann Ballesteros from Glenburn, Maine, and I'm the Vice President for External and Government Affairs at the Jackson Laboratory. I'm also a Maine native and a proud member of Maine's Franco community with roots in Eagle Lake, Maine. It's an honor to be nominated by the governor to serve a second term on the State Workforce Board. It's wonderful to be invited to do something important. I think it's even more special to be invited back. It's been a privilege during the past 3 years to work with Commissioner Fortman, who is, as you all know, an incredibly knowledgeable and collaborative leader, and with our current board chair, who you met a couple of folks ago, Guy Langvin. Guy has brought rigor to our committee meetings and established an environment in which all of our board members are engaged. And Chris Quint, the Workforce Board Director, makes sure we have everything we need for information, that we follow all the rules and federal and state guidelines. Thank goodness, because there are a lot of them. I remember my first meeting with Chris. We sat down in Augusta at the DOL with a 5-inch spiral notebook to go over all the responsibilities. And I can remember leaving that meeting and driving back to Bangor and thinking, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? But it's been great. Frequently during the first year of my first term, we often struggle to have a quorum with board members who represent the business community, but under the leadership of the commissioner and Guy and Chris, and the renewed commitment of board members, and critically important, really important, the dedicated state employees who make this complex system function. We've made great strides on behalf of Maine employers, employees, and those who are seeking new or better employment opportunities. It's really been a rewarding experience. The Jackson Laboratory currently has more than 100 open positions in Bar Harbor and Ellsworth at our facilities there. As part of the senior management team at JAX, I'm acutely aware of the importance of a state workforce plan that ensures we have aligned strategies and goals, integrated quality programs, equitable access, and performance accountability. And like all of you, I'm also aware that JAX isn't alone. Every employer on the board and employers throughout the state are all struggling to match open positions with qualified Maine employees. And the work of the Maine DOL with guidance from our workforce board is a critical component of these efforts and of a viable Maine economy. I feel confident that I can continue to add value to the efforts of the State Workforce Board, and I hope that all of you will agree and support the governor's nomination. I'm happy to answer questions about my qualifications to serve on the State Workforce Board, and I thank you for considering my nomination.
Thank you so much. I have a question from Senator Guerin.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and welcome.
Hi, Stacy.
So nice to see my fellow Glenburn residents.
You too.
I just wanted to have you share, in case people didn't know. I believe JAX is one of the best places to work in Maine. Is that correct? And you're still having a difficulty in recruiting?
Yeah, I mean, we have a little less difficulty in Ellsworth because of where it's located. But you know, Acadia National Park is our neighbor. So we do have difficulty recruiting. We work really hard to recruit external talent from outside the state, and we're quite successful at that, but we have all the same challenges, I think, that everyone else is having. We have housing, childcare, and transportation challenges. With respect to the transportation challenges, we have employees who live in 88 different zip codes in Maine that are coming to our facility in Bar Harbor and our facility in Ellsworth. And to help with that, we actually are partners with Down East Transportation we have the most complex actually workforce transportation system in place. It's been I've been at Jack's 18 years. It's been in place far longer than that. So we have buses that actually move people from various locations in mostly Hancock, Washington, and Penobscot counties to the lab and back to a central location. With respect to housing, we're working on a housing project ourselves and collaborating with others to try to help that. As you can imagine, in Bar Harbor, it's not an easy thing to find housing. And childcare, we have a collaboration with the Y in Ellsworth for our employees that live there. And actually some of our employees who live in Bar Harbor bring their kids to the Y in Ellsworth because there's nothing, for them in Bar Harbor. But we're also working to try to resolve that issue as well, along with others. So thank you for the question, Senator, and nice to see you too.
And thank you for your willingness to serve.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you so much. I have a question from Representative Bradstreet.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good to see you again.
Nice to see you too.
Yes, I'm curious a little bit about the housing project that you have, that you're undertaking. Could you enlighten us a little bit about that?
Sure. So we are right now, we're building 2 different units across the street from our main facility on land that we own there. And I think I've got colleagues watching. They're probably going to be correcting me in their mind, but I want to say there are 45 units. There are combinations of single, double, and sort of family units. And we're expecting those to be ready to move in the 1st of September. So we're actually planning a ribbon cutting, I want to say August 25th. Love to have everyone on the committee join. You'll probably be receiving an invitation, but we're quite excited about it. We've just opened up a lottery system. So Jack's employees who are interested in this housing can actually jump in on the lottery, and we'll make selections from there.
Thank you. Do I have any further questions from the committee? Representative Bradstreet, any follow-ups? Seeing no further questions from the committee, the chair will now take comments from persons attending this hearing who wish to speak for or against this nomination. At this time, Justin, do we have anyone present and signed up?
We do not.
With that, all public comments having been taken, the committee will now proceed as follows. Review any additional written comments on the nomination that have been received by the committee, vote on the nomination, and notify the President of the Senate pursuant to Title III MRSA, Section 157 and the Joint Rules. The vote must be taken within 35 days from the government notice. With that, the hearing by the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing for Ms. Luann Balisartes of Glenburn for reappointment to State Workforce Board is closed. In accordance, the committee may not take the vote on this nomination sooner than 15 minutes after the close of the public hearing unless all committee members who are present agree. Do I have any objection? Seeing no objection, the pending question before the committee is that the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing recommend to the Senate of the 130th Maine Legislature that the nomination of Ms. Luann Balisartes of Glenburn for reappointment to the State Workforce Board be confirmed. In accordance with 3 MRSA Chapter 6, Section 157, and with the joint rules of the 130th Legislature, the vote will be taken by the yeas and nays. The committee clerk will call the roll.
Senator Daughtry?
Yay.
Senator Daughtry, yay. Senator Guerin?
Enthusiastic yay.
Senator Guerin, yay. Senator Hickman?
Yay.
Senator Hickman, yay. Representative Sylvester?
Yay.
Representative Sylvester, yay. Representative Bradstreet?
Yes.
Representative Bradstreet, yes. Representative Cuddy?
Yes.
Representative Cuddy, yes. Representative Drinkwater is absent. Representative Gear?
Yes.
Representative Gear is yes. Representative Morris?
Yes.
Representative Morris is yes. Representative Pebworth?
Yes.
Representative Pebworth is yes. Representative Prescott's absent. Representative Rader?
Yes.
Representative Rader is yes. Representative Warren?
Yes.
Representative Warren is yes. So we have 11 in favor, 2 absent.
Thank you so much. With 11 members of the committee having voted in the affirmative and 0 in the negative, it is the vote of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing that the nomination of Ms. Luann Balisartes of Glenburn for reappointment to the State Workforce Board be confirmed. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you all for your service as well.
Thank you. And thank you for yours as well. With that, Justin, if you wouldn't mind, I think up next we have Eileen, correct? See, reporting everyone in. And if you wouldn't mind putting Eileen's packet into the chat. And Eileen, if you wouldn't mind walking me through your name so I won't mess it up.
It has been said many different ways. So my name is Eileen Huang Saad.
Huang Saad. Okay. And with that, packet is slowly opening. Come on, computer. Almost there. With that, kick this off. This is the public hearing of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing for the purpose of considering the nomination by the governor, Ms. Eileen Huang Saad of Falmouth, for appointment to the State Workforce Board. Under the law and joint rules of the legislature, this committee is required to hold this public hearing and to recommend confirmation or denial of the nominee by majority vote of the committee members present and voting. As chairs of the committee, we will then send written notice of the committee's recommendations to the President of the Senate. Pursuant to Title III, Section 157 of the Maine statutes, which requires that there be an affirmative motion to recommend confirmation of the nominee, the chair recognizes Representative Sylvester for the purpose of making such a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing recommend confirmation of Ms. Eileen Huang Saad of Falmouth for appointment to the State Workforce Board.
Thank you. The chair now recognizes Missy O'Neill Lowe for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination.
Thank you, Senator Daughtry and Representative Sylvester, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing. My name is Melissa O'Neill Lowe, and I am the Director of Boards and Commissions for Governor Janet Mills. I'm here today on behalf of the governor to speak in support of the nomination of Eileen Huang Saad of Falmouth to the State Workforce Board. Dr. Huang Saad is being nominated to a seat reserved for a representative of business in our state. She comes before you today as the Director of Life Sciences and Engineering at the Root Institute and is an Associate Professor in Bioengineering at Northeastern University. In her role at the Root Institute, Dr. Huang Saad is committed to seeking engineering and life sciences graduate programs that will undoubtedly foster and develop workforce talent much needed in those areas here in Maine. She holds a BSc in bioengineering from the University of Pennsylvania, an MBA from the University of Michigan, and her PhD in biomedical engineering from Johns Hopkins School of Medicine. For these reasons and many, many more not outlined here today, on behalf of the governor, I would ask that you support the nomination of Dr. Eileen Huang Saad of Falmouth to the Maine State Workforce Board. I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody has at this time. And again, thank you so much for spending some time today.
Thank you so much. Do I have any questions from the committee? Seeing none, the chair now recognizes Dr. Eileen Huang Saad for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination. The floor is yours and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Daughtry and Representative Sylvester and the distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing for having me here today. And thank you, Missy, for the kind introduction. As stated, I'm Dr. Eileen Huang Saad from Falmouth, Maine, and I'm an Associate Professor of Bioengineering and the Director of Life Sciences and Engineering Programs at the Root Institute in Portland, Maine. I'm honored to have been nominated to the State Workforce Board. My goal as a board member is to ensure that the workforce development system throughout Maine equitably serves its residents. I firmly believe in the power of strategic partnerships to effectively leverage research and promote Maine's burgeoning industries through a coordinated approach to workforce development programming. I'm passionate about aligning industry needs with accessible training programs for the citizens of Maine, and I'm confident my expertise in multiple industries, including life sciences and engineering, will allow me to contribute fully to the development of the board's state plan. In my career, I've had the good fortune of working for a large contract research organization, a federally funded research and development center, a startup company, a venture capitalist, and higher education. I've found that my ability to traverse these wide varieties of experiences and disciplines shaped my understanding of who today's engineers and scientists are and what they can achieve for the economy. These experiences have become the foundation for my teaching, mentorship, and research. I've created curricula, programming, and evidence-based pedagogy to specifically address gaps in education today, moving student learning closer to professional practice. I truly look forward to serving alongside the other board members to learn and engage with one another around our diverse experiences to best inform our collective decision-making. I appreciate the nomination from Governor Mills and thank you for considering me for this role. I'm excited to serve the public alongside you all, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have for me.
Thank you so much. Do I have any questions from the committee? Seeing none, the chair, Representative Sylvester.
Thank you. I was having a hard time getting my computer to cooperate as always today. Welcome, Doctor. Coincidentally, this morning, I got a constituent question whether the Rue Institute works on cybersecurity. And I was going to say, I don't know, but I can check. And then I said, wait a minute. I think I have someone coming in today that I might be allowed. So I wonder if you could expand a little bit more on what the Rue Institute does and answer my constituents' question about whether or not there's a role of cybersecurity in the work that you're doing.
Absolutely. So to quickly answer that question, the Rue Institute actually offers an online program in cybersecurity. The Rue Institute is a unique approach to higher education in that we strongly believe that higher education is a blend of 4 important pillars, one being learning, one being research, one being partnership, and one being entrepreneurship. And we work very hard to cross-cut all of those spectrums. Within research, we're growing an expertise in engineering, life sciences and medicine, as well as computer science. From an educational perspective, we've been growing programs in the life sciences and engineering, continuing professional studies, as well as computer science. And our goal is to really integrate those things so that we can identify the true needs of what the citizens of Maine need and push forward in terms of offering educational opportunities for them. We've been exploring several different ways in which people can engage in education, from business to business opportunities to stackable credits to full degree programs.
Thank you so much. It's such a great program. I always love to give you an opportunity to tout it. So
great. Thank you so much.
Having it sitting in District 39.
Awesome. Thanks.
Representative Pepworth.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. Oh, thank you so much for being here. One of my questions is always, how do we end up with such great candidates for these boards that we get to review for nominees? My question to you is, how has Maine kept you here? What can we take from that, and how can we expand upon that?
Maine is an absolutely amazing place. So as you all probably gathered, I'm from away. My husband and I have long wanted to return to the East Coast. He grew up in New England. Maine offered us the opportunity to come back to a community on the East Coast, closer to family, but a community that clearly works together and has opportunities available to really change the way in which we are addressing the economy and bringing people of all levels into new spaces. And that's really exciting to me. I think higher education plays an important role in terms of transforming the way in which we're reaching people in communities. And I think the Rue Institute allows us to do that. I think there's a lot of innovation to be had, and I think we can become a destination area for ways in which we are addressing the needs of communities as well as higher education. And so that's what's keeping me here and will keep me here for years to come.
Delighted to hear that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Representative Warren.
Just because Representative Pepworth asked such a great question, I hope it's okay to follow up on that. You mentioned in your response some innovations that we have the opportunity to maybe make or be a part of. So I'm wondering, has there been any challenges that you could name to keeping you here or having you return here to New England and particularly Maine? Have there been any barriers that maybe that's in part the work that you do or hope to be a part of? But yeah, if you could speak to the maybe the inverse of that.
Yeah, I mean, I can honestly say right now, I don't have any negatives. I mean, I think what I really love is everyone I've met in the community wants to see success, right? And so when you get that critical mass together, there's almost nothing you can't achieve. And so I've actually been very impressed about how welcoming everyone has been and how willing they are to think about what are new ways in which we can engage different individuals, different communities. I think we have, that's probably the best thing about this place. Like I would have thought that we would have had more barriers to work across institutions, but there's such a thirst for success that I'm really glad to say that people have been remarkably welcoming, and I'm actually stunned.
Do you have a follow-up, Representative Warren, or all set?
No, what a wonderful answer. What a great thing to hear. Oh.
Thank you so much. Do I have any other questions from the committee? Seeing none, the chair will now take comments from persons attending this hearing who wish to speak for or against this nomination. Justin, at this time, do we have anyone signed up to testify?
We do not.
All public comments having been taken, the committee will now proceed as follows. Review any additional written comments on the nomination that have been received by the committee and make available to the nominee. We will vote on the nomination and notify the President of the Senate pursuant to Title III MRSA Section 157 and the joint rules. The vote must be taken within 35 days from the date of the governor's written notice. The hearing from the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing for Dr. Eileen Wong Saad of Falmouth for appointment to the State Workforce Board is closed. In accordance with the law, the committee may not take the vote on this nomination sooner than 15 minutes after the close of the public hearing, unless all committee members who are present agree. At this time, therefore, the chair will inquire whether any member present objects to proceeding to taking the vote immediately. Seeing no objection, the pending question before the committee is that the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing recommend to the Senate of the 130th Maine Legislature that the nomination of Dr. Eileen Wong Saad of Falmouth for appointment to the State Workforce Board be confirmed. In accordance with 3 MRSA Chapter 6, Section 157, and with the joint rules of the 130th Legislature, the vote will be taken by the yeas and nays. The committee clerk will call the roll.
Senator Daughtry?
Yay.
Senator Daughtry is yay. Senator Guerin?
Yay.
Senator Guerin, yay. Senator Hickman?
Yay.
Senator Hickman, yay. Representative Sylvester?
Absolutely yay.
Representative Sylvester's yay. Representative Bradstreet?
Yes.
Representative Bradstreet, yes. Representative Cuddy?
Yes.
Representative Cuddy, yes. Representative Drinkwater is absent. Representative Geer is absent. Representative Morris looks to be absent as well. Representative Pebworth?
Yes.
Excuse me, Representative Pebworth is yes. Representative Prescott is absent. Representative Rader?
Yes.
Representative Rader is yes. Representative Warren?
Yes.
Representative Warren is yes. So we have 9 in favor, 4 absent.
9 members of the committee having voted in the affirmative and 0 in the negative, it is the vote of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing that the nomination of Dr. Eileen Wong Saad of Falmouth for appointment to the State Workforce Board be confirmed. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your willingness to serve. Up next, I have on my list Gordon McAller. And Gordon, I'm going to port you over so that you can correct me on your name. And putting a run through. And Justin, if you could put the script in the chat again, please. And Gordon, if you could please let me know how to correctly say your name.
It's Gordon McAleer. You were close.
So close, but not quite. McAleer.
McAleer.
I put that emphasis on the last part. With that, let's jump right in unless the committee has any questions. Seeing none, I will open the public hearing of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing for the purpose of considering the nomination by the governor of Mr. Gordon McAleer of Rockport for the appointment to the State Workforce Board. Under the law and joint rules of the legislature, this committee is required to hold this public hearing and to recommend confirmation or denial of the nominee by the majority vote of the committee members present and voting. As chairs of the committee, we will then send written notice via carrier pigeon, just kidding, of the committee's recommendations to the President of the Senate. pursuant to Title III, Section 157 of the Maine statutes, which requires that there be an affirmative motion to recommend confirmation of the nominee. The chair recognizes Representative Sylvester for the confirmation of making such a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing recommend confirmation of Mr. Gordon McAleer of Rockport for appointment to the State Workforce Board.
Thank you. The chair now recognizes Missy O'Neill Lowe for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination.
Thank you so much, Senator Daughtry, Representative Sylvester, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing. My name is Melissa O'Neill Lowe, and I am the Director of Boards and Commissions for Governor Janet Mills. I'm here today on behalf of the Governor to speak in support of the nomination of Gordon McAleer of Rockport as a member of the State Workforce Board. Mr. McAleer of Rockport has been nominated to a seat representative of business in our state. Mr. McAleer is the Compliance Director for Bixby & Company, LLC in Rockland, Maine, a family-owned business. As a member of the senior leadership team of this family-owned business, he is responsible for quality assurance, safety, grant writing, compliance with regulatory bodies, and certification standards. Prior to working for Bixby, Mr. McAleer spent nearly 40 years as a healthcare administrator executive. He served in active duty in the U.S. Army and received the Bronze Star Medal in Vietnam. The Bronze Star Medal, for those of you who may not know, is the fourth highest ranking award a service member can receive for a heroic and meritorious deed performed in armed conflict. For those who receive this recognition, it is a signal of their sacrifice, bravery, and honor while serving our country. Mr. McAleer holds a BA from Middlebury College and an MS from Trinity University. For these reasons and many, many more unknown, I would ask that on behalf of the Governor, you support the nomination of Gordon McAleer of Rockport to the Maine State Workforce Board. I'd like to personally thank Mr. McAleer for his service to our country. I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody has at this moment. And again, thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Do you have any questions from the committee? Seeing none, the chair now recognizes Mr. Gordon McAleer for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination. And I do have to add, I wish we could be present and potentially getting some samples from the Bixby Company. But with that, Mr. McAleer, the floor is yours.
We shall bring samples if we meet in person. It's my pleasure to be here today. And thank you very much for this opportunity. And also, Melissa, thank you for your very kind comments. My name is Gordon McAleer, and our family lives in Rockport, Maine. And I'm currently the compliance director for the family-owned and operated business, Bixby Chocolate. And my wife and I retired from our respective careers some years ago, and we had a dream of coming to Maine, because Donna's father actually grew up in Owl's Head, not far from where we are. And we've always summered up here and just had a real love for Maine. And then when it came time to officially retire, my wife and daughter were forming the Bixby Company, and we decided to bring it up to Maine for quality of life reasons and also some amazing opportunities that were presented to us. And it was a terrific decision because once we moved up here, we were able to tap into the technical support of the University of Maine School of Food Science and the Engineering School to provide guidance on scaling up production. And also we took advantage of the technical input from MEP of Maine and also grants from MTI. So with that support over the years, Bixby has grown successfully. We now have national distribution in some of our products, and we are receiving national recognition for excellence for some of our best products. During my career as a hospital administrator, I dealt with very large and diversified organizations and just really want to bring that experience to the board, and as a way for me to say thank you for all Maine has done for us and our family. And also just looking forward to being part of the policy setting on providing opportunities for people to grow in Maine professionally and for businesses to thrive and continue to advance. At this point, I'd be happy to answer any questions, and thank you for the opportunity to present.
Thank you so much. Do I have any questions from the committee? Seeing none, I do want to thank you as a co-owner of a fellow family business. I really appreciate the story of Bixby and the success that your family has been able to have with that company. With that, seeing no further questions, the chair will make comments from persons attending this hearing who wish to speak for or against this nomination. Do we have anyone present, Justin?
We do not.
With that, that concludes all public testimony on this nomination. Now the committee will proceed as follows: review any additional written comments on the nomination that have been received by the committee, vote on the nomination, and notify the President of the Senate pursuant to Title III MRSA Section 157 and the joint rules. The vote must be taken within 35 days from the date of the governor's written notice. The hearing by the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing for Mr. Gordon McAleer of Rockport for appointment to the State Workforce Board is closed. In accordance with the law, the committee may not take the vote on this nomination sooner than 15 minutes after the close of the public hearing unless all committee members who are present agree. At this time, therefore, the chair will inquire whether any members present objects to proceeding to taking the vote immediately. Is there any objection? Seeing none, the pending question before the committee is the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing recommend to the Senate of the 130th Maine Legislature that the nomination of Mr. Gordon McAleer of Rockport for appointment to the State Workforce Board be confirmed. In accordance with 3 MRSA Chapter 6, Section 157 and the joint rules of the 130th Legislature, the vote will be taken by the yeas and nays. The committee clerk will call the roll.
Senator Daughtry?
Yay.
Senator Daughtry, yay. Senator Guerin?
Yay.
Senator Guerin, yay. Senator Hickman?
Yay.
Senator Hickman, yay. Representative Sylvester?
Yay.
Representative Sylvester, yay. Representative Bradstreet?
Yes.
Representative Bradstreet, yes. Representative Cuddy?
Yes.
Representative Cuddy, yes. Representative Drinkwater is absent. Representative Keir is absent. Representative Morris is absent. Representative Pebworth?
Yes.
Representative Pebworth, yes. Representative Prescott is absent. Representative Rader?
Yes.
Representative Rader, yes. Representative Warren?
Yes.
Representative Warren, yes. Okay, we have 9 in favor, 4 absent.
Thank you so much. 9 members of the committee having voted in the affirmative and 0 in the negative. It is the vote of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing that the nomination of Mr. Gordon McAleer of Rockport for appointment to the State Workforce Board be confirmed. Congratulations, and thank you for your willingness to serve.
Thank you.
Up next, we're getting there, folks. We have 2 more to go. Up next, I do believe we have Christopher Morley. Let's see. Promoting Christopher over. That. And Justin, if you wouldn't mind popping Mr. Morley's packet in there as well. And with that, let's see, has everyone got everything they need? And going from there. Okay. I will open the public hearing of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing for the purpose of considering the nomination by the governor of Mr. Christopher S. Morley of Dedham for appointment to the State Workforce Board. Under the law and joint rules of the legislature, this committee is required to hold this public hearing and to recommend confirmation or denial of the nominee by a majority vote of the committee members present and voting. As chairs of the committee, we will then send written notice of the committee's recommendation to the President of the Senate. Pursuant to Title III, Section 157 of the Maine statutes, which requires that there be an affirmative motion to recommend confirmation of the nominee, the chair now recognizes Representative Sylvester for making such a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The chair now that would be the wrong part. Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing recommend confirmation of Mr. Christopher S. Morley of Dedham for appointment to the State Workforce Board.
Thank you so much. The chair now recognizes Missy O'Neill Lowe for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination and begs everyone's patience. It has been a long morning and we are clearly all starting to slip our words and get a wee bit punchy. With that, floor is yours.
Thank you, Senator Daughtry, Representative Sylvester, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing. I will only tell you 2 more times that my name is Melissa O'Neill Lowe, and I am the Director of Boards and Commissions for Governor Janet Mills. I'm here today on behalf of the Governor to speak in the support of the nomination of Christopher S. Morley of Dedham to her nomination to Christopher. Now I'm fumbling my words, as a member of the State Workforce Board. My apologies. Christopher S. Morley of Dedham is being nominated to a seat that is reserved for a business representative of the state. Mr. Morley is the founder and CEO of Mason's Brewing Company, a restaurant and commercial brewery in Brewer. His business employs over 60 individuals and distributes distinctive craft beers to 7 states in our nation and 11 countries across the world. Mr. Morley has personally experienced what Maine's workforce limitations can be in rural and urban areas of our state in both the public and private sectors. His financial investment in his community and strong beliefs in generating equal opportunities through workforce development and programming will provide much needed insight into Maine's labor shortages, especially in the hospitality industry since COVID-19. As a member of the Maine Brewers Guild, the Bangor Regional Chamber of Commerce, Mason's Brewing and its CEO, Mr. Morley, before you today, have a far-reaching ability to collaborate with other industries and leaders across the state to bring a new perspective to this board. It is for these reasons that this morning, now afternoon, on behalf of Governor Mills, I would ask that you support the nomination of Christopher S. Morley of Dedham to the Maine State Workforce Board. Again, thank you for your time this afternoon. I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody has at this time.
Thank you so much. Do I have any questions from the committee at this time? Seeing none, the chair now recognizes Mr. Christopher S. Morley for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination. And as with the prior nomination, I would say it is clear from the hour and the day, in just a few more hours, we would definitely benefit from having a Mason's Pint in front of us. And with that, Mr. Morley, the floor is yours.
Hello and good afternoon, Senator Daughtry. It's good to see you again, Representative Sylvester and esteemed members of the Joint Standing Commission on Labor and Housing. As you know, my name is Chris Morley, or Christophus now. I think I'll go with that. Thank you, Mike. I do live in Dedham. I am here seeking a nomination to the Maine State Workforce Board, and I'm honored to be nominated by Governor Mills. Really quick, a little bit about myself. I have a pretty diverse employment background, serving both in the public and private sectors. I am one of those stories where I defected from upstate New York about 20 years ago, along with my wife, to seek employment in the state of Maine. And honestly, it was the best decision we ever made. The state of Maine has given us a tremendous opportunity over the last 20 years. I don't think I would have been able to get anyplace else. I currently now own Mason's Brewing Company in Brewer, Maine. Over the past 6 years, we've grown our to 65 employees. As you've heard, we send beer to 7 different states and are now entertaining a second location that will take our company to over 100 employees once this expansion is complete. I feel my background has given me some insight into the labor issues facing the state in both small and large scale businesses. I feel that I can help the State Workforce Board looking at strategic ways in which the state can maximize its workforce while dealing with complex issues such as retention, education, and recoupment from within the state and attracting those like myself from away. I feel that I can also contribute helping the Workforce Board review current programs in addition to helping develop new programs and services that ensure the state of Maine stays proactive in its workforce development. This, I feel, is a key. This is the key to the future of the state of Maine as it continues to support an aging community. with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Morley. Do I have any questions from the committee? I have one that I'll throw out there, and I know
I'm not giving you any brewing secrets, if that's what you're asking.
No, I was actually going to say, if you wouldn't mind touching upon one of the things that I harken about, and I know this committee has heard me talk about ad nauseum, and I try to highlight all the time, but would love to hear from another perspective, is about how the brewing industry really shapes, really is a great model of collaboration and sort of shifting economic models. You know, there more of us there are, the better we grow, and how really collaborative it is, and like what lessons from being in the brewing industry you feel like you can bring to the state workforce board.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can go in a multitude of different directions. You know, I think the collaborative I guess, of the brewing industry is unique among its industry. You don't really see that. You don't see Ford, you know, communicating with Chrysler, communicating with GM on how to build a new engine. I mean, you do to some degree, but not so much in the way that we do with beer. You know, but I also think that we're fed by the community, you know, and in rising, you know, tide lifts all ships. And I think that, you know, you see it specifically in Portland, where you have breweries that are all little like micro communities that surround itself, but then you see it just kind of percolate and bubble, because, you know, it just creates this community and atmosphere that attracts people to it.
Thank you so much, and completely agree. Any other questions from the committee? Seeing none, moving on to the next portion, the chair will now take comments ending this hearing who wish to speak for or against this nomination. At this time, Justin, do we have anyone signed up to speak? And if you're in the attendee portion and plan on speaking, please raise your hand.
There is nobody.
Thank you, Justin. With that, all public comments having been taken, the committee will now proceed as follows. Review any additional written comments on the nomination that have been received by the committee, vote on the nomination, and notify the President of the Senate via a beer glass, just kidding, pursuant to Title III MRSA, Section 157 and the joint rules. The vote must be taken within 35 days from the date of the governor's written notice. With that, the hearing of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing for Mr. Christopher S. Morley of Dedham now I'm tripping up, for appointment to the State Workforce Board is closed. In accordance with the law, the committee may not take the vote on this nomination sooner than 15 minutes after the close of the public hearing, unless all committee members who are present agree. Are there any objections? Seeing none, the pending question before the committee is that the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing recommend to the Senate of the 130th Maine Legislature that the nomination of Mr. Christopher S. Morley of Dedham for the appointment to the State Workforce Board be confirmed in accordance with 3 MRSA, Chapter 6, Section 157, and with the joint rules of the 130th Legislature. The vote will be taken by the yeas and nays. The committee clerk will call the roll.
Senator Daughtry?
Yay.
Senator Daughtry, yay. Senator Guerin?
Yes.
Senator Guerin, yes. Senator Hickman? Absent. Okay. Representative Sylvester?
Yay.
Representative Sylvester, yay. Representative Bradstreet?
Yes.
Representative Bradstreet, yes. Representative Cuddy?
Yes.
Representative Cuddy, yes. Representative Drinkwater is absent. Representative here is absent. Representative Morris is absent. Representative Pedward?
I didn't ask you any questions, but I really appreciate your experience. I think you'll bring a lot to the board. And yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Pedworth is yes. Representative Prescott is absent. Representative Rader?
Yes, and I'm a big fan of your establishment.
Thank you.
Representative Rader is yes. And Representative Warren?
Yes.
Representative Warren is yes. So we have 8 in favor, 5 absent.
Thank you so much, Justin. 8 members of the committee having voted in the affirmative and 0 in the negative. It is the vote of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing that the nomination of Mr. Christopher S. Morley of Dedham for appointment to the State Workforce Board be confirmed. Congratulations.
Thank you. And thank you all for what you do for the state of Maine.
Thank you so much. And with that, we are on to our last nomination correct me if I am wrong, but I will port over the Honorable John Patrick. And Justin, if you wouldn't mind putting the packet in for the Honorable. Let's see.
Sorry, I'm chatting with people and I send it to them first by mistake. I'll get to the
Fine. And we're still trying to get, oops. That. And welcome back, Honorable John Patrick. Let's see if I can just get the script to open and then we will jump in. Okay, perfect. So this is a public hearing of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing for the purpose of considering the nomination by the Governor of the Honorable John L. Patrick of Rumford for the reappointment to the State Workforce Board. Under the law and joint rules of the legislature, this committee is required to hold this public hearing and to recommend confirmation or denial of the nominee by majority vote of the committee members present and voting. As chairs of the committee, we will then send written notice of the committee's recommendations to the President of the Senate. Pursuant to Title III, Section 157 of the main statutes, which requires there be an affirmative motion to recommend confirmation of the nominee, the chair recognizes Representative Sylvester for the purpose of making such a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing recommend confirmation of the Honorable John L. Patrick of Rumford for reappointment to the State Workforce Board.
Thank you. The chair now recognizes Ms. O'Neill Lowe for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination.
Thank you again, Senator Daughtry, Representative Sylvester, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing. My name is Melissa O'Neill Lowe, and I am the Director of Boards and Commissions for Governor Janet Mills. I'm here today on behalf of the Governor to speak in support of the nomination of the Honorable John Patrick of Rumford as a member of the State Workforce Board. John Patrick graduated from Mexico High School before becoming a welder at Bath Iron Works. After years with Bath Iron Works, he left and began working for New Page Corporation. He remained with New Page Corporation for over 35 years. He was elected to the Maine House of Representatives in the year 2000. In 2012, he ran and was elected to represent Maine's 14th district, representing part of Oxford County, as well as the town of Jay in the Maine State Senate. During his time in the Maine legislature, he served as a member of this very committee, and he has been a board member of the Maine AFL-CIO and the Western Maine Labor Council. He will continue to represent labor organizations well on this board if given the opportunity. For these reasons and many more, I would ask that on behalf of the Governor that you support the nomination for reappointment for the Honorable John Patrick of Rumford to the Maine State Workforce Board. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. And again, thank you for spending almost your whole day with me today.
Thank you so much. Do I have any questions from the committee at this time? Seeing none. Oh, yes, Representative Sylvester.
Hi.
Honorable Brother Patrick, I am curious, having been reappointed to this board, what your thoughts are on what we can do better in order to engage the citizenry in the work of the State Workforce Board, because a lot of citizens don't know that it exists.
Representative Sylvester, I'll have to cut you off right there. I think we're putting the cart before the horse real quick. We need to not put him quite on the spot yet.
I would love to answer.
You have something to say, John? All right, go ahead and say it.
Well, we do recognize him to make his speech first, and then we can pelt him with as many questions as the committee so desires.
More coffee. All right, sorry about that.
No worries. With that, the chair does now recognize the Honorable John L. Patrick for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination. And we look forward to questioning you quite clearly. And I don't know how it happens with nominations, if this, the having to bring a treat before your former committee, but we'll just put it as an IOU.
Well, thank you, Senate Chair Daughtry, House Chair Sylvester, and the esteemed members of the Labor and Housing Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing. My name is John L. Patrick, and I'm from Rumford, and I'm honored to be with you today, this afternoon, for my reappointment to the State Workforce Board and hopefully confirmation after I answer many questions, I'm sure. I retired after 37 years as a maintenance mechanic in the paper industry. And as it was alluded to, I started my career in Bath Iron Works as a welder. I served 8 years in the Maine House and 6 years in the Maine Senate. And I have been a strong supporter of adult education, apprenticeship, and on-the-job training. I'm a member of the MSEA SEIU retirees and serve as president of the Western Maine Alliance. I'm also a member of the Western Maine Labor Council and a former board member of the AFL-CIO. I'd like to thank Governor Mills for her confidence in my reappointment to the State Workforce Board. And I would like to say I'm extremely pleased that you supported Guy Langevin, who has been chair of the State Workforce Board and has done a fabulous job. I've been involved with many commissions and boards over the years, and he is second to none, and I'm very thankful for that. And with that, I'll answer any questions you might have.
Thank you so much. Representative Sylvester, would you like to rephrase your question?
I just want to say honorable brother Patrick again, really. But my question is, I agree. Mr. Langman's done a fantastic job. And how do we sort of capture the imagination of the general public on the work that you're doing? Because so much of it is happening, and then people come forward with the same questions that you're tackling here in the legislature. So.
Well, my twist on that, Representative Sylvester, is I think a lot starts in grade school, junior high. I think we've got to open the eyes of all the students on what the possibilities of the jobs that are available to them. I always tell my grandkids their job is to get educated so they can find something, a job, an education that will give them the lifestyle and the financial wherewithal that they want in that. And why I say that is, as a former union president of the United Steelworkers years ago, I went to the school and had talks with them. And I remember myself having firemen and policemen come to the school. Well, not very often do you have an electrician or a welder or a plumber or a carpenter come, and you look at the jobs now, and I'll tell you, for instance, I just had my house renovated in Lincoln, Maine, and I know that a plumber gets $95 an hour, a carpenter gets $65 an hour, an electrician gets $80 an hour. Now, from my standpoint, not everyone, and I'm one of them, like it said in my bio, I only went to 12th grade education. But I will say, because of Bath Iron Works giving me the trade to be a welder, that gave me the opportunity to earn $2.15 million in my working career. That might not be rich, but it's not chump change. And I had the ability to send my kids to college, own a house, have decent cars, and have a life of a middle income or upper middle income America. And that's what I want for people, because we've got to do more things to educate the people, the parents and students earlier on in life to what the opportunities are. Because when I went to school, all there was basically was going to college, and that didn't fit where I wanted to go. But through a course that I took at adult education, and Catherine Newell, who used to be the president of the Adult Education Association, always told me she loved my story because I was a laborer in the paper mill pulling logs, and I looked up and watched this guy doing some welding, and he worked probably 5 minutes out of every 15. I'm saying to myself, boy, I'd like to do that. And then I took an adult education course, 40-hour course at school, which gave me the opportunity to go to Bath Iron Works as a semi-skilled welder and got training there. As a union president in Rumford, I saw the apprenticeship program they had in Bath Iron Works, which is probably second to none, otherwise than maybe the IBEW program that they have. And I helped our company And our local started an apprenticeship program because we needed 150 more maintenance mechanics, and there's none out in the state. So you have to do something if you want to get something done. So those are kind of some of the things that I did throughout my working life. And to this day, I still think it's important, and I hope to go visit my grandkids in school and give them the same talk there.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate all your service.
Absolutely.
Do we have any further questions from the committee? I have a quick one. I do have to take this moment to ask about one of my favorite bills that you introduced while I was in the legislature with you. I have to ask how you feel about the standardized pints of beer sold in Maine now, many years in the future.
Well, I still get razzed about that a little bit, but I've always been, I finally am one. I tried craft brews, and there's a couple that I do like, but the one thing I do is if someone gives me a 16-ounce glass and there's only 13 ounces of beer and a lot of foam, that's not 16 ounces of beer. So I've always been one, and I know there's a law in the book that you're supposed to sell what you say, but I was always a firm one with that many times, and I would like to see that become law someday, because there are still many places that say, we're going to sell you a pint of beer, and they have a 12-ounce glass. Well, a 12-ounce glass is not a pint of beer. So otherwise than that, and I still do get heckled with that once in a while, but I think it was well worth putting it in and at least having the dialogue.
Absolutely. And I have to tell you that when I was traveling with the Maine Brewers Guild, with the Maine Brew Box, with my own brewery, and we were in Leeds, England, and we were pouring imperial pints, I meant to reach out, but I thought of you every single time. Pouring one of those darn imperial pints. And you could have the little, and there they have the little lines by law specifying where you're supposed to pour them on the glass. Definitely appreciated the bill, and especially appreciate it while pouring on an international market. So thank you.
And I will say one thing about the tributes. I actually went to testify before the committee a couple of years ago, brought a tribute to the committee and didn't testify. So I'm actually even with the committee on that respect. And if I do get to Augusta, I'll bring something for you guys, because it is a honored tradition. And that committee that you have, I listened to some of the testimony. Not a lot has changed, but everyone's opinion is important, and to share from the bounty of especially chocolates to the committee is an honorable thing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Patrick, we changed the joint rules, so now it's a tribute every time you appear. So just so you know.
Maybe that's why I haven't been for a while.
Oh boy. Any further questions from the committee at this time? Seeing none, the chair will now take comments from persons attending this hearing who wish to speak for or against this nomination. Justin, do we have anyone present?
We do not.
Perfect. All public comments having been taken, the committee will now proceed as follows. Review any additional written comments on the nomination that have been received by the committee and made available for the nominee, and vote on the nomination and notify the President of the Senate pursuant to Title III MRSA Section 157 in the joint rules. The vote must be taken within 35 days from the date of the governor's written notice. The hearing by the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing and the discussion of beer and chocolate for the Honorable John L. Patrick of Rumford for reappointment to the State Workforce Board is closed. In accordance with the law, the committee may not take the vote on this nomination sooner than 15 minutes after the close of the public hearing, unless all committee members who are present agree. At this time, therefore, the chair will inquire whether any member present objects to proceeding to taking the vote immediately. Seeing no objection, the pending question before the committee is that the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing recommend to the Senate of the 130th Maine Legislature that the nomination of the Honorable John L. Patrick of Rumford for reappointment to the State Workforce Board be confirmed. And I'm going to get this right on my last one of the day. In accordance with 3 MRSA Chapter 6, Section 157, and with the joint rules of the 130th Legislature, the vote will be taken by the yeas and nays. The committee clerk will call the roll.
Senator Daughtry?
Yay.
Senator Daughtry, yay. Senator Gearan,
Yay.
Senator Gearan, yay. Senator Hickman,
Yay.
Senator Hickman, yay. Representative Sylvester,
Yay.
Representative Sylvester, yay. Representative Bradstreet,
Yes.
Representative Bradstreet, yes. Representative Cuddy,
Yes.
Representative Cuddy, yes. Representative Drinkwater is absent. Representative Gear is absent. Representative Morris,
Yes.
Representative Morris, yes. Representative Pepworth,
Yes.
Representative Pepworth, yes. Representative Prescott is absent. Representative Rader,
Yes.
Representative Rader, yes. Representative Warren,
Yes.
Representative Warren is yes. So we have 10 in favor, 3 absent.
Thank you very much, Dustin. 10 members of the committee having voted in the affirmative and 0 in the negative. It is the vote of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing that the nomination of the Honorable John L. Patrick of Rumford for reappointment to the State Workforce Board be confirmed. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your service, because I do know what you went through. Go through.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
With that, I do believe, unless there's anyone I'm missing, Missy, I think that concludes our confirmations. Missy?
Yes, yep, it sure does. I just have a quick question, Senator, if I may. Do you anticipate getting this letter to the Secretary of the Senate today with these confirmations? I just want to make sure that our nominees are invited to attend the Senate session tomorrow, if that is the case, and they can make it on the calendar.
I would defer to Justin. Is that something that we would be able to get over in time?
Mhm.
I can ask. I don't know if I can answer that question because after I'm done here, it's out of my hands.
Right.
So
I
don't
think I just was curious if the letter would get upstairs today. If it does, then I can, speak to the Senate Secretary myself if that's the case. But just wanted to kind of give him an update if you thought the letter would make it up there today.
I think, Justin, not to speak for you, you were planning on getting the letters out today, so we should probably have them upstairs, but.
Okay, great. I will check in with them. Thanks all so much.
Perfect. And I'm sure Justin will want a quick break after this, so definitely want to give him some time for that as well. Senator Hickman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe Missy O'Neill, oh, she left. Oh, there she is.
Nope, I'm here.
Usually the Senate calendar closes at 12:30 the day before. So it may not make it for tomorrow's calendar, but we can certainly chat.
Okay, great, thank you.
That's the normal, the House calendar is already out, for instance, so.
Okay, great,
Thank
thanks
you.
so much.
Representative Sylvester.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to see if you wanted to discuss the change package.
Yes, so we wanted to bring up the fact that we need to discuss the change package and see if folks would be amenable to doing that on Friday before the bill that we have at 1. Anyone have any thoughts or questions on that? Representative Bradstreet.
Yeah, I'm all for it, doing it Friday. Are we pretty much stuck on 1 o'clock though for the work session, or can we do that earlier?
That work session does have to be at 1 p.m. because it's tied to the racial impact study pilot program. And so the person who's done the research, who's coming to do it, is only unfortunately available at 1. So my co-chair and I's thoughts were that we could meet beforehand so we get out a little bit earlier on Friday. So we're thinking maybe, 11 or noon, depending on what folks think we need for time. And go forward from there. But yeah, unfortunately, the 1 p.m. is pretty set. Senator Hickman?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I hope that the committee members have received the memo from John Clark, Deputy Director of OPLA, regarding the possible funding reorganization of staffing the Citizen Trade Policy Commission. I am the Senate Chair, Representative Tracy Gear is the House Chair, and Senator Stacey Guerin is the second senator, the Republican lead on that commission. And we have sent that letter, the memo, to the chairs of the Appropriations Committee. I may not be able to be here tomorrow for the supplemental budget discussion because of my other committee's obligations. And I'm just hoping that perhaps someone might move at least to take a vote from the committee on whether or not that reorganization can be approved by this committee. It does not require extra funding. We have a staffing problem with Senator Guerin and Representative Gear can talk about at that time if they're both available. And it would really just be a show of support for trying to get that into the final vote of the supplemental budget so that we can have that staffed while we're in session, which is actually the best time for all of us to meet as a commission to do our very important work. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Senator Hickman. And we can definitely discuss that on Friday and make sure it'll also give us a little bit more time to get more information and make sure that we've all been able to read the memo. Before we finish, I do have a request from Senator Guerin to be able to reconsider her vote on LD 463. My only question is, I can't remember, Justin, do we need to have Mr. Langland join us for this to be able to reconsider? I think we do.
We do, and I know that he is buried in other commitments today, trying to get all of our bills to the floor. So perhaps Friday, if Senator Guerin, if that was
Senator Guerin around on Friday, or
Yeah, that'd be fine. Thank you.
okay, perfect. And we'll make sure we can start that off to knock something off of our list pretty quickly. So Justin, if you want to make sure, and all of us will make sure that we kick it off with the reconsideration of LD 463. Any other thoughts, questions, statements of wisdom, bad jokes? Well, seeing the look of complete and utter Zoom fatigue and the really good laugh from Representative Bradstreet, I want to thank everyone for sticking with it. Confirmations are always a slog, but we get to see some really interesting people. With that, go out, enjoy the daylight, and have a great rest of your Wednesday. Take care, everyone.